is the Big O Show. This 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 is the Big O Show. This.
So here's the putting green. See? There you go. Got two flags. One was over there where Cutter's Edge Pro. It's not coming out now. Come on. Come on, wind. Give me a little wind. No, unfortunately. But there you go. And this one says Big O here. There you go. So there's my putting green. It's about, I would say about 25 feet, something like that. I get to practice, have a little fun. See? And then, of course, we got, the bunkers. Got to have the bunkers, man. Got all kinds of bunkers there. You know what I'm saying? So that's a taste of our backyard. There's Maiden right there. Maiden. Bono, how you doing, Bono? Bono. He's a Carolina dog, by the way. These dogs are amazing. Their temperaments are awesome. But there is the Sylvester Palm, which is just beautiful. All right, call my guys, Will and Mike at Cutter's Edge Pro. They will take care of you. Dogs are not included, okay? Can't include the dogs. Those are mine. But the exceptional work, oh, baby. Oh, baby. Yes. Make your home an oasis. CuttersEdgePro.com. Go to their Instagram page, by the way, so you can see a lot of the before and after work that they do. And it is exceptional, baby. This thing's been on here for about 9 months. No grass growing through it or anything like that. Right, Bono? Huh? Bono!
There's no need to drive around South Florida wasting valuable time looking for a new or certified pre-owned Acura. Go to the #1 volume sales dealership in the Southeast United States. Craig Zins Acura of Pembroke Pines. Purchase with pace and space in a dealership tailored to your needs. From home buying to providing that personal touch. Contact the 2020 Satisfaction Award winner Craig Zins Acura of Pembroke Pines. 888-776-5123. That's 888-776-5123. Or visit them at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines.
Welton Rayom has more than 62 years of litigation experience handling insurance disputes. They're committed to resolving even the toughest insurance claims quickly. Call them for a free consultation. 954-966-4646. At Welton Rayom, they don't get paid unless you win. Property damage claims to your home, business, or condo as a result of a hurricane. Welton Rayom can help. Water, mold, fire, smoke damage, Welton Rayom can help. Call 954-966-4646. When you move, you need a reliable company led by passionate folks, eager to assist its customers during a transitional process that needs to be smooth. Call Essential Moving Experts at 844-368-5750 for all your local and long-distance moving needs. you can rely on essential moving experts. Mention the Big O Show and get $150 off. Family owned and operated, they offer free 30-day storage, full service moving, fully licensed, bonded, and insured. Moving was never so easy. EssentialMovingExperts.com.
If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your inner Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at Caneswear.com or InnerMiamiWear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where Inner Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
For over 16 years, EJDConstruction.com has provided South Florida residents quality craftsmanship, accurate project management, and exceptional service. That's why EJDConstruction.com is an A-rated member of Angie's List and the Better Business Bureau. When you're looking for the right custom home builder for additions or home remodeling, please call my friend Eric at 305-433-4843. That's 305-433-4843 for EJDConstruction.com.
The viewpoint statements or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of FantasyXS.com, Media Group Inc. ownership, management, sponsors, or website. When it comes to South Florida sports teams, very few in the media have witnessed, lived, and covered it like the Big O. Let's start the program dedicated to your favorite South Florida teams with a passion that's unmatched. The Big O Radio Show is on. Here's the Big O.
All righty. Good morning, baby. Yeah. It's a beautiful way to start it off with a little Perdomo cigar because last night, come on, Sean, let's bring on the victory cigar for our Florida Panthers. Yeah, a little victory cigar last night, up 3-0 in that series. And then on Saturday, of course, the Miami Heat, they bitch slap the Knicks. Give me that victory cigar. And on Saturday night, your Inter Miami CF made it 2 in a row. Martinez has been an absolute disappointment. Well, he woke up with a PK and a sweet goal, and 2 in a row of victory for Inter Miami. Give me that victory cigar. And the Miami Marlins, who have not been playing well lately. Sandy Alcantara finally had a decent outing. Decent for him, not a great outing, because he has a standard that's a little higher. And, you know, he did allow 9 hits in 8 1/3. I know it's only 2 earned runs, but that's a lot of hits for say. But in extra innings, the Marlins avoided a sweep and picked up a victory. Give them, Sean, a victory cigar. It's a beautiful thing, man. A lot of victory cigars being handed out this morning here on the show. Man, that is beautiful. Love it. And remember, you can make a donation through Cash App or Venmo at Cash Big O Show. We get the entire donation there on Cash App or Venmo. And Rick D. Man, first thing in the morning, Cash App, he comes in with some love, 2 Cash Apps. He says, hey, what app did you say was best for buying crypto? There is no best app, but crypto.com will work for you, or Binance will work for you. And then remember, get a cold storage wallet. Whatever you buy, you move over to your cold storage wallet. So that's what it's all about. And then he says, for Panthers and Heat, oh my effing G, looking amazing in South Florida. Thank you, Rick D. Man. Appreciate it as always. So remember, Cash App or Venmo, Cash Big O Show. Jose Lucas chiming in on the super chat. He says, Scott Foster saved the Knicks from getting swept. Yeah, well, they're lucky that Jimmy wasn't even healthy in that game, because if Jimmy plays that game, listen, at no point have the Knicks looked like the better franchise. At no point have the Knicks looked like the better team. At no point have the Knicks have the better coach. There is nothing. Even in the game that the Heat lost, Miami looked like they were the better franchise, even in that game, top to bottom. Okay. I mean, listen, what's gone on with the Heat? What's gone on with the Panthers? I mean, this is like, smoke and mirrors, dude. This is like a bait and switch on our asses. This is not what we were watching during the regular season. They bait and switched our ass here, okay? Both of them did the same shit. None of us expected this kind of stuff. We're just in for the ride now. Now it's just riding it out. It's the craziest thing in the world. Here's the most effed up thing in the world. Are you ready? A month ago, I tell you, hey, the Heat and the Panthers have a shot at winning the titles. You would have said, bro, what is wrong with you? What kind of drugs are you on? And now you start to look at the landscape after everything that's gone on. The Panthers are on the brink of picking the team that everybody, the experts thought were going to win it, after you eliminated the ones they thought they were going to win it in Boston. They went and picked Toronto. Now they're down 3-0. So if they can do that, why can't they win the rest? The Heat, have you watched the rest of the playoffs? It's not like anybody's like this world beater and dominating, and just the way the Heat play defense right now, they're playing defense like we didn't expect them to play. And the way the guys are contributing around Jimmy Butler, wackier things have happened right now. That's the most screwed up part of it all. That two teams have gone from either barely getting in, barely deserving to get in, to all of a sudden the entire landscape of everything has changed, that you could just say you can't put it past them getting all the way to the end and even winning it all. That's how crazy it is. It really is just completely. And you got to kind of reset everything, reset your thinking, because really anything is possible. So let's enjoy the ride. Ira Winderman and our Acura Pembroke Pines Miami Heat and NBA report next.
Heat fans, time for the best insight of your favorite team with insider Ira Winderman, exclusively on the Big O Radio Show. It's the Acura of Pembroke Pines Miami Heat and NBA report. Here's Ira Winderman.
Good morning, Ira.
Good morning, sir. Welcome to Championshipville. Going
Crazy.
to the conference finals.
It's crazy. Like, there's no way you would have ever thought this a month ago for either the Panthers or the Heat. And now you can't say, oh, no, it's impossible. Neither one of these can get to the finals or even win it. And if you look at the landscape, why not? Anything goes right now.
Yeah, there's not a super team, certainly in hockey. We're seeing that with the results on a nightly basis. And in basketball, it looks like the secondary series almost in the West of Lakers Warriors has as good a chance as producing the Western finalist as Suns Nuggets does. And in the East, just when you think they're a cut above, the Celtics have moments like they did yesterday against the Sixers. So you're not overwhelmingly afraid. Let's face it, when the playoffs started, you were overwhelmingly concerned about the Bruins and about the Bucks.
Of
and
course.
Then South Florida took care of those two teams, and it's wide open. Just another case, Big O, the regular season. Doesn't matter if you're able to get in the playoffs. It really does become clean slate. We're seeing that in both leagues.
Yeah. Although it's more common in hockey that these kind of things happen, whereas in basketball, it's not nearly as common. So it's just a weird thing, man. It really is a weird dynamic. But again, the way the Heat, the way the Heat is built right now, it kind of opens it up for them. And then the other thing that I've noticed, and obviously you've heard me praise the man the entire freaking year, I just think it's also a mismatch when you get in with Spo, because I look at what's gone on with Budenholzer, and then I look what's going on, with Tibbs. And to me, Tibbs is more of a motivational, hard worker, push you type of guy. I don't think he's going to outthink this guy X's and O's. I'm watching the Celtics game yesterday, and you don't even call a timeout at the end to set your play at the end there. I look at Spo and I compare him to what I'm watching everywhere else. Maybe Steve Kerr has shown me a little something, but outside of that, I'm not impressed by the coaching overall. I think Spo gives you an edge too every time you get into a series.
No, and if it does wind up being, Heat Celtics, and I'm not getting ahead of myself, folks. I said that in my Ask Ira today also. I'm asking some perspective here. But if it is, we know the Celtics have the greater depth of talent. We know the Celtics might have the more overall talent at the top. But Eric Spoelstra against Joe Mazzulla all of a sudden sort of moderates that a little bit. This is not against Brad Stevens. This is not against Ime Udoka, who was in the league for a long time before what he did. So that does change the factor. Probably if you're talking about the most battle-tested coaches in each league, you're probably talking about Paul Maurice just because of experience and how long he's done it, even with all his losses. And you're talking about Eric Spoelstra for what he's done as long as he's been around. And what's interesting is you listen to the Knicks talk, Big O, and it's almost like Spo's in their head. And they talk about how well prepared the Heat is. And they talk about how the Heat has made adjustments in this series. And they talk about how the Heat have a culture and a way of doing things. And once you can get into another team's head, that's part of the battle as well.
No, I'm with you there. And there's no doubt that Spo is he's playing chess and everybody else, is playing checkers. Jimmy Butler, I know it's impossible to find out information there, but the ankle, he twisted it up a little bit. Should be all right, you think?
Yeah, I think with Jimmy, I think it's more a matter of when the adrenaline gets going and the clock starts running and the horn goes off, he just gets in that zone. So he might be the kind of guy you might say, hey, I saw Jimmy out last night. He was walking with a limp a little bit. That's what it's going to be. They're putting a lot on this guy, but he's still finding a way to come through. So I'd say Jimmy on game nights, and Jimmy's also smart. Jimmy knows if you win the next two, and again, let's not assume anything, but if you win the next two, you get 4 or 5 more days off. He knows that. He knows the Celtics Sixers are going at least 6 games. So there's a lot on the line. I think tonight very much could be a break the spirit game.
Oh, yeah.
If you can get up 3-1 and you go back to the Garden, instead of go New York, go, it's sort of go New York, oh, and there's doubt. And if they fall behind, I'm not going to say they're bandwagon fans, but they're sort of bandwagon fans. We saw that with the bad Rangers play in the Rangers series in the Garden. When it started going south, they got on them a little bit. So I think.
Well, listen, Ira, deep down inside, if you understand basketball and you watch, there's no way any Knicks fan could ever feel that their team right now is at an even plateau with the Heat. They have looked like the inferior team in all 3 games.
When you count that Jimmy was out in game 2, yeah, and the officiating in that game. But Big O,
they had to have felt fortunate in their only win that the Heat lost, because they know that the Heat was the better team even that day too.
Okay, so let's be honest. If the Heat win tonight, you're feeling very good about the Heat. You're feeling very concerned about the Knicks. But let's be honest the other way. If the Knicks win tonight and they go back 2-2 with 2 of the final 3 at home, it still lifts their confidence. It lifts
their confidence, but I'm not like, oh my God, the Heat are screwed, because I'm really not impressed.
No, I don't think that he would be disappointed necessarily, but I think it would add optimism to the Knicks equation. So this is a step on the throat game. This is getting Jimmy and getting Bam and getting your leading men and your top players involved also. And again, we talk about the Knicks situation now. Look, the Heat are already without Oladipo and, of course, Tyler Hero. If Quickly doesn't play, that's their spark off the bench. That's going to put more pressure on Randall. That's going to put more pressure on Brunson. And don't kid yourself. Just because Brunson's not on the injury report with that ankle doesn't mean that you and I and everyone didn't see him limping to the finish at the end of Game 3. He's not himself also. You want to create an air of doubt with the Knicks. You can do that tonight. Kaseya Center at 740.
Well, I think that the doubt is already there. I mean, I don't.
You want to
I don't.
increase the doubt, ramp it up.
You're right, but there's no way that team, that coaching staff, or the fan base has any kind of confidence in this series right now. They've looked like the inferior team from the get-go. They've looked like the team that's not better prepared from the get-go. So to me, they cannot go into this game. In fact, I think they go into this game with very little confidence and something you can easily shatter if you're the Miami Heat. What you can't do is play like the Sixers, that after you get that win, you just lay a freaking egg the next game and you don't even show up and just give the game away, to the Celtics. That's what you can't do, and that's what I don't think you'll see from the Heat, that they'll just, okay, we won. We like what they did before, like what I was saying, they got their split. The Sixers were happy getting that first win with Boston. All right, let's give them game 2 with no problem. I don't think the Heat's going to come in complacent today and say, so what if we give them the game? We're doing all right ourselves right now. I think you're going to see a team that's going to try to go for the jugular tonight.
I'd like to see that. And I think that starts with hitting three-pointers early and creating that doubt. The Heat are missing their shots. It carries the Knicks in the game. If Julius Randle gets Bam Adebayo in early foul trouble, and I think that'll be the Knicks' goal, it could change the tenor of the game. Bam can be overly aggressive a little bit at the start because he wants to show his defensive chops. So I'll be curious. I think one of the main weighing points today is Bam staying out of early foul trouble. It might mean giving Randle some points, but also keeping himself on the floor.
But he's also had some moments where he kind of kept his distance and showed some patience, and some restraint in all of that. Listen,
absolutely.
To me, as long as he continues to play the way he's playing right now, and everyone else is shooting and complimenting Butler, I think that kind of plays the role. You know what I mean? We can't keep sitting here going, well, we need Bam to be Mr. Aggressive and go out there and put up 20. That's not who he's going to be night in or night out. Just go and play the role that you play. And to me, the key is Strus and Vincent and Caleb. These are the guys that have to score and hit their shots, to complement Butler. To me, that's the key to this winning. Bam's going to do the defensive stuff that he does, set the picks, facilitate all that. But Butler's going to do Butler things. To me, it's up to that trifecta of really putting together the points to be. It's like that trifecta has to become Robin. In other words, that's what that trio is.
Right. No, that's a good point because the Heat don't have the definitive number one running partner to Jimmy, but they do it by committee, different players on different nights. And you know what? You left out one of your favorites there, but Kyle Lowry's made a difference with that second unit also.
Yeah,
he's sparked it. He's hit shots. He's made smart plays. He hasn't made bad plays. So you're right. It really is Jimmy and then everyone else. It's not, it's funny. I read it in the New York paper the other day, and I never thought of it this way. The Knicks' big three has to come around. And I'm like, really? Are we really calling Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle and RJ Barrett a big three? Have we so diluted the term big three that qualifies? Like I saw that and it sort of like shook me. I never would call Jimmy and Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero when healthy the big
three. Didn't they print shirts for beating the Cavs?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, dropping streamers when they beat the Heat back in 2013, their one victory in the series, which might be the case again this time around.
Yeah. And by the way, the other guy I left out is Love.
Yes.
Love has done, believe it or not, Love has been fantastic in every way, shape, or form.
He'll get a complimentary player.
He'll get an assist. He'll get a rebound. He'll play a little defense every once in a while. It's kind of magical the way he sprinkles in, and he helps out a little bit. So Lowry and Love, I got to give both those guys some credit. They have contributed in their own way to really help out what I think is, it's like the three-headed monster. It's Butler, it's Bam doing his thing, and then the other three guys contributing with all the points. Although I got to give Caleb a little extra love on defense. He finds a way to make a couple defensive plays too to really help out.
Yeah, but I think when you're talking with Kyle and Kevin, that's the hardest adjustment you make is getting older, going from being former star to complimentary player. Kevin's doing it. He's just so glad to be playing. Cleveland, he couldn't get to the playoffs out of the play-in last year. Now he sees his former team losing to these same Knicks in 5 decisive games. So I think he's feeling so good, he'll do whatever it takes. He's living the life. When he was in Cleveland, he never thought he would be an active participant in mid-May in NBA playoffs. So he really is just glad to be there.
So, well, you look at this matchup. Give me who's going to be the other star next to Butler tonight.
I think the other star is going to be the three-point shooters. I would put them collectively. That's what they need. They need to space the floor for Bam. They need to space the floor for Jimmy. They need to hit shots. Hell, it could be Duncan Robinson. It could be Gabe Vincent. Gabe was terrible on Saturday, at least with the shooting. But you know what? All of a sudden, you look at that as a one-off instead of typical because he's been so good in the playoffs. So maybe he comes around. Max has been very consistent early. Putting him in the starting lineup has really helped. And it's interesting, Big O. In my Ask Ira this morning at sunsentinel.com, I said, if Tyler Hero does come back, he's gone from the bigger wrap to the smaller brace on the hand and he comes back. Clearly, he would come back as a reserve because I'm not taking Max Strus out of the starting lineup right now.
Oh.
Not the way this chemistry has worked. So it shows you how Max Strus has made himself. It's interesting. Max and Vince are impending free agents. When I was on, I believe it was called, the Big O Show earlier this year on the Accurate Pembroke Pines Report, we talked about how you can't overpay Gabe and you can't overpay Max. You can't make the Duncan mistake. Well, I got to tell you, with their performance in these playoffs, it might not be from the Heat, but they're attracting notice. And if they were before minimum or minimal scale players before the playoffs, there's teams out there looking at Max Strus and going, hey, that guy can help us with this toughness. They're looking at Gabe Vincent and going, it's almost like backup quarterback in the NBA, in the NFL, where you overspend. We need a backup point guard. So I think those two guys, the playoffs have been really helpful for them. It's going to create some decisions for the Heat, but they both have boosted their stock during this playoff run.
Can we create compensatory picks in the NBA so the Heat can, start getting some compensatory
not that simple. You know what? When you threw all that money at Duncan and when you gave all that money to Kyle, you put yourself in this position. But you know what? And I know other people love to do who's coming back, who's not, who can they get. My thought on all of this and even stretch payments and all that, let's enjoy this moment. This moment could be fleeting. This moment could be illusory. Let's enjoy it now. We'll have plenty of Accurate Pembroke Pines reports to get to what they're going to do down the road. So, hey, I'll leave that to Andy. I'll leave that to Nick. I'll leave that to Mickey. We'll enjoy the games for the moment.
Although I will say selfishly, in the Bucks series, I was talking that, hey, one of the other positives of all of this is that Duncan was creating value for himself in the offseason. It's kind of waned here in this series.
It just takes one more moment. It just takes one more moment. He hits 4 tonight. He's back in the consciousness.
Yeah, he needs another moment or two to light up his interest for the offseason, because if you're going to pay, Strus or Gabe, you probably need to move Duncan in order to do that. So that's kind of the give and take out of all of this. So hopefully Duncan can have some more moments. So maybe other teams might be interested in acquiring his services. All right, what are you working on the Sun Sentinel leading up to game time tonight so folks can check you out?
If you get a chance, go online. It'll be in tomorrow's paper. It started innocuously. They had a drill. Kevin Love just showed up. Chris Quinn said, okay, Kevin, lead us. Start the drill. And it took off from there. Lead us, Kevin. Lead us, Max. And they got to the point where they're now Lead Us Kevin t-shirts the equipment staff made up. And they're just enjoying each other's company. So when you walk in that locker room, you'll hear a guy just shout out, lead us, Max. Lead us, Gabe. And when they win games, Eric Spoelstra brings it in, and it's lead us. And the other day was Cody Zeller for what he did, standing up to Julius Randle when Isaiah Hartenstein pushed him. So they're really enjoying it. So you know what? Sometimes you create these phony things, or a turnover chain, the hard hat or something, and it becomes forced. This
16 strong or whatever, right?
This happened organically. This was just someone saying something, so I wrote the entire history of Lead Us and how it played out. That's at sunsentinel.com. And I did write that Ask Ira this morning. If Tyler Hero comes back, and he could be back by next round, basically, after how we've seen it work so well with Kyle Lowry off the bench, I would assume that they would ease Tyler back in the mix. You're getting better defense in the starting unit. You're getting more three-point shooting and spacing in the starting unit. But you know what? Like Eric Spoelstra would tell us, that's a good problem to have if Tyler comes back, because there will be a moment when it'll be late in the game and you'll need to put in one more offensive player. There's no downside there. We know the guy has played as a closer before. So if he's getting closer, God bless the Heat, and you just hope for the best.
Well, not only that, even if he's not closing, he's decoying if he's out there
like Jimmy was when he was limping around on the bad ankle the other day in game 1. So as you have another body you got to pay attention to, no downside there. Absolutely.
Yeah. Zero downside there. All right, follow him on Twitter at Ira Heatbeat, and more importantly, subscribe to the South Florida Sun Sentinel. Ira, as always, thank you, my brother. We'll catch up.
Catch you next time in our Acura Pembroke Pines report. Thanks, Big O.
Appreciate it. There you go. Ira Winderman. That is our Acura of Pembroke Pines, Miami Heat, an NBA report.
You've been listening to the Acura of Pembroke Pines, Miami Heat, and NBA report with Ira Winderman. When you're looking for award-winning service and great deals from the #1 volume Acura sales dealership in the Southeast United States, you go to Craig's Inn Acura of Pembroke Pines at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines.
Can't wait for tonight, man. It's going to be a lot of fun to catch the Miami Heat doing their thing. It's just the crazy turnaround now from all of this that you just would have never imagined a month ago that these teams could do anything in the playoffs, much less win the title now, get to the finals. It's just stupid how it changes from one moment to another just that easily. It makes no sense whatsoever, dude. No sense what's going on. But hey, we love it. Right? We'll ride it out. Eric Trujillo was #1 on the chart there. Wow, #1 in the chat, Eric. That's a new name. He says, let's go, Big O. Panthers, unbelievable. Let's put a stranglehold on the Knicks tonight. Hell yeah. Polly King 305, Stetson O. These are like new names at the top here than the normal hardcore guys that normally are at the top. Manolo Rivera says, hola, mi gente. Good morning, Big O. What a time to be a Miami sports fan. Steve Chapman in the house. Jamie Zorrilla. See, those are the normal names now. Chapman and Zorrilla. They got beaten by others. That's amazing. I can always understand. I'm always freaked out when Jamie's early because he's always in San Jose. And we love Jamie. Man, his dedication is second to none. And he reminds everybody to smash the hell out of the like button. Very important to smash the like button. Brian Walters, another normal name up there at the top. Big O, great weekend for the playoff teams. And Panthers had to shoot one in their own goal just for the overtime. Good morning, Sean and everybody. Hope you're feeling well. Have to rewatch Going to the Dentist. Ouch. Take it easy there. Kyle Cockrell, Ohio John. Les Jam says, good morning from North Carolina. Miami, South Florida sports are peaking. Just needed Hurricanes football to get on board. It's coming, man. Mario will get it done. I don't think this year is going to be very special for the Canes, but I think years 3 and 4 is where you really start to pick it up for the Canes football program. It's coming, man. It's just, unfortunately, we got to have a little patience to turn this thing around. To Extreme, John Padilla, the man, the myth, the legend that is Frankie Fresco, Rick D Man, thank you for the Cash App. Thank you. Cash App or Venmo, Cash Big O Show. Heck, what a South Florida weekend, says Giovanni. Isais is in. Sheng Tu. Daniel Lazary. Tank in. Rick D Man of 1,005 holds. Great win by the Panthers. They look more playoff driven than last year's Meow Meow team. Amen to that. Jay Gelfin is in. He says, good morning, Orlando and Sean and chat crew. Barkov grew up last night and became a cat instead of a kitten. He's still, I get it. He's doing all the little things. You know what I'm saying? he's fine where he's at as long as he's got, Kachuk and Bennett and Montour and Verhage. He's doing all the tough stuff. I get it. Manny Arias is in the house. Billy Shaw is in the house. Travis, Lisa, Jose Lucas, Dude 67, Manuel Goico, Terry Lynch, Manny Arias, Zeller versus Randall, round 1, fight LOL. Gus 1388, Brandon Flood, Eric Storm. Thank you all out there for keeping it locked. And don't forget, please smash the hell out of the like button. Very, very important. I see Andres Orozco. I see Cidola, Josh, Nizzle, John Rouse is in the house. Troy Ortiz says, Morning O, never saw this coming from either. None of us did, bro. None of us saw this coming from the Heat or the Cats. But we'll take it, bro. We'll take it, And one thing that Iris said, it's like, the regular season means nothing. In basketball, it's meaning less and less every year, basically. Oh, God. Let's see. Too Extreme says, Big O, although I'm a diehard Heat fan, let me be the first one to apologize to our Heat team for ever doubting this team and thinking this season was over before the playoffs. You don't need to apologize to Extreme. None of us thought the Heat was going to do this. They didn't look like this, and neither did the Panthers, dude. They didn't show us anything like this. You don't need to apologize. Both teams fooled everybody and themselves too. They weren't thinking like this either. It just kind of turns out that way. All of a sudden, a break here, a break there, you start to believe in yourself. It's interesting, the dynamic of confidence, because that's what it's all about. Sometimes you're in a blackjack table and shit ain't going well, and you had a stack of, I don't know, man, $50 or $500 or $5,000 or whatever it is that your financial status is, and your stack is down to like 10% of your stack, and you're like down to a couple hands, and shit isn't going well for you, and then all of a sudden you hit on a hand or two or three, and then all of a sudden the confidence starts to build, and you can't control it. It's one of those things that you feel like you start making all the right decisions and you get on a roll. You go to the plate, you strike out a bunch, you foul, you pop out, you're just not getting it right at the plate. And then all of a sudden you sneak one through the infield. And then that kind of gets you going, and then you lace one right over the shortstop. And then it's a liner in between right and center where you really get to stroke it opposite field. And now you're feeling really good. We've all done it. You're bowling. Shit, it's not going well. You're hooking it. You're getting the 2 pins on the far left. Whatever it is. And all of a sudden, you have this ugly first bowl that leaves 4 pins, and they're in odd ways, and you got to hit it right in order to clear it, and by somehow you get this ugly spare, and you're like, okay, well, all right, I've been off for like 4 or 5 frames, now I got this spare, and then all of a sudden you get a strike on the next one, and you start to get on a roll, and you spare, and then you strike, and you strike, and then you get on a roll. And that's because you start feeling yourself, and you always had the ability. It's just a matter of confidence. And it happens to us in anything in life, man. Doesn't matter what it is. I don't care if you're cooking. I don't care if you're playing a game. I don't care if you're whatever it is that you do in life. Confidence is a beautiful thing. And the Heat didn't go in there thinking, hey, we can win the championship. But shit, all of a sudden, Giannis gets injured. opens up the door. You take advantage. You surprise them at home. You open it up. Now you've split the series. Now you come back and now you start winning games and you start feeling better about yourself and you start playing better than you did during the regular season. You start to say, well, wait a minute. We're better than what we really were. Why? Because all of a sudden we've got confidence in ourselves. And that's what's going on. The same thing with the Panthers. And the same thing that happened with the Hurricanes. They get in and all of a sudden they start to win. And oh my God, we're in the 32. Oh my God, we're in the 16. Oh my God, we're in the Elite Eight. Oh my God, we're in the Final Four. Because as the stages go, your ability takes over. It was always there. The question is, how much do you believe in yourself that you can be that good? How much will you push yourself? How much are you willing to sacrifice? How much are you afraid to not fail? Because we all are going to fail, right? But you got to be afraid. You got to not be afraid of it. Failure can't be something you're ever afraid of. Failure is something you've got to always face. Only way you're going to overcome it. But if you have no confidence in yourself, failure is right around the corner. And so that's what happens. Confidence builds. And as confidence builds, success builds. You become a better salesperson. You become a better artist. You become a better player. You become a better doctor. You become a better lawyer. You become a better teacher. Because the confidence takes over. The ability sharpens. And that's what's going on right now with the Miami Heat and with your Florida Panthers. Confidence, it's a beautiful thing, man. It really is. And that's what now you and I have more confidence in them because now we're watching things that we didn't see throughout the season. Now we're watching consistencies that we didn't see throughout the season. And that's the difference right now. And so none of us saw any of this. They didn't see it within themselves until it actually happened. Until the moment happened that they had that what is it, introspective or right introspective moment? Is that the right word to use? And they're able to look and say, well, I can do this. So let's see how far they can go with this. It's fun. It's fun. It is definitely fun. All right. We had a little lull in the crypto market. Where we at? Bitcoin fell under 28,000. Although Jasmine, that son of a bitch, is riding hard, dude. Hard. Wow. Wow. Jasmine is, I think, about to explode. Anyway. Knight, thank you for the love on the super chat. Not an NBA or NHL guy, but go Heat and Cat, says Knight. Thank you, Knight. Appreciate you, my brother. How can you not be one right now, man? Wow. Too Extreme says Big O, although, oh no, let me see. No, here we go. Miami Breaker. Let's go, Big O. The state of Florida is killing it. Tampa Bay Rays, Heat, Panthers. Let's go. Carson Louder says, good morning, Big O from Los Angeles. Go Heat and Lakers. Lobo Paolo says, Big O, something special brewing for our Panthers. Yeah, man. Yeah. Pretty damn special. Let's see. About Barkov, all these lethal scorers on the Leafs have done squat this series. Barkey isn't scoring, but he's doing what he's doing, stomping out their dogs, making them puppies. Yeah. Just to pick up on your point, because we do our homework here. John Tavares, Austin Matthews, William Nylander, and Mitchell Marner combined for 146 goals and 205 assists on the season. Do you know how many goals John Tavares, Austin Matthews, William Nylander, and Mitchell Marner have? They had 146 on the season through 3 games. You know how many they have? 0. 0 goals for Tavares, Matthews, Nylander, and Marner. Let me repeat that again. They scored 146 goals between 4 guys for the entire season through 3 games. They combined for 205 assists throughout the season. They have 7 through 3 games. Their 4 best offensive players have been offensive. Panthers. Wow. That defense is freaking sick, dude. Okay? Sick what they're doing. True Fin Fan, thank you for the love on the super chat. Says the God. Oh, thank God for this show on Monday. Thank you, True Fin Fan. Very nice of you. Too kind. By the way, Alan Poupart will join us at 11, and Marcel Louis Jacques will stop by at noon. Oh, the Cats have won 6 in a row. No, I know. They were down 3-1 against Boston, won 3 in a row to close out that series, and then now have won the first 3 games of this series. So they have won 6 in a row. I am well aware of that. It's truly amazing, everything that's gone on about them. Bob, the way Bob is playing, the way the defense is playing, the way Kachuk and Montour and Verhaeghe and Bennett, and I mean it's just stupid, bro. It's just amazing what's going on, what these guys are doing. Freaking awesome, really. John Santos says, need to give Spo a lifetime contract if the Heat make the NBA Finals, no matter what the outcome is. Brother, he did it in the bubble. He went 31-10 with a bunch of bums in a second half of a season and beat the Warriors when the Warriors were, like in their peak. He beat them twice with those bums. What he's doing now, I'm not surprised at this point. I mean, if you listen to this show, nobody praises Spo more than I do. Okay? I've always had Spo's back, even through Bumpgate and all that shit that went on years ago. I've always had Spo's back. I think Spo's a terrific coach, and he's just gotten from terrific to just flat out great. And he's just one of the greatest coaches in NBA history, period. That's all. So for me, Spo already deserved a lifetime contract. Spo's a freaking monster, and I'm going to hate the day he steps down because I fear, you go through Riley and Spo. What are the chances you're going to end up with a third great coach? Jesus Christ, that's hard. Like at one point or another, your chances start to thin out. Like you're going to end up with a couple of, real turds. And it's truly amazing for us. We had Van Gundy in the middle of it, and that didn't last very long. But, Riley and then Spo, holy shit, dude. That's badass. So, yeah, I'm with you there. True Fin Fan again with the love on the super chat. He says, trade Jimmy if we get to the finals or wait. You know me, I've been wanting to get off the gravy train at the peak, and I do worry about the back end of that contract with his body. The question is, if you can't get another star, it's going to be hard to win it. You're asking a lot, and that body's, got a lot of wear and tear. Oh, are you going to be at any Heat or Panthers games? No, not really. Nah, I watch it at home. I'm good at home, dude. I don't really have any any hankering to be there live for any of that stuff. I'd rather watch at home, you know. Although hockey, that's one that I kind of don't mind being there live because it's better live than it is on television. Everything else I'd rather watch on television. Hockey would be the one that I don't mind going live. John Padilla says he's been calling Heat and finals, Heat and Lakers in the finals. Steven Gonzalez says, quick question. If the Panthers win, where is the parade going to be? Downtown Fort Lauderdale or Miami? No, they'll do it in Fort Lauderdale. Maybe they'll have one like a backup in Miami, but I think they will do something in Miami, but they'll do it mainly in Fort Lauderdale first and foremost, Steven. And Steven, I love you, brother, because I know he's a Knicks fan. And he was, talking about the Knicks and all that they weren't shooting. And I was kind of like trying to give him a little bit more, like any Knicks fan out there that thinks your team is actually special. They're not. This Heat team is not special. This Heat team is not even a top 15 team in Heat history. And they're owning the Knicks. The problem that comes out of New York a lot of times is that shit gets overhyped, like Jeremy Lin. You know, this happens all the time in New York. One little thing happens and it gets blown completely out of proportion. And Knicks fans, I get it. The Knick Nation hasn't had a lot of success. You know what's funny? When they tell me that New Yorkers are smarter sports fans than average sports fans, and they're not. They're the same as every other fan base. Every fan base has a group of fans that are smart and a group of fans that aren't necessarily that smart or not necessarily realistic or just flat out homers. And that's what I think happens to a lot of Knicks fans right now. They're just homers that they love their team and they're trying to build them up more than what they are. Like what I was saying, call them a big three. The Knicks have they ever had a big three? Seriously. I'm being completely honest now. I mean, do I have to go back to the early 70s? Okay. But have they ever had a big three? And so even as of the last 20-something years, there's no big three. Not even when they put up that bogus big three with the idiot that busted his hand on the fire hydrant. Or whatever the thing. Not the fire hydrant, the whatever that fire extinguisher. Remember when they had that three? That wasn't a big three. They tried to call, and that's because it's New York. They force this shit. They force a bunch of hype that, and Steven, not for nothing. Okay. You're another Steven Gonzalez because there's another Steven. Maybe it's not Gonzalez. I'm bad with names. Anyway, I got to really see you many times to kind of remember. But there's another Steven that reached out to me. He's a really good dude. And he goes out to Dolphins matchups and all that stuff. And so he was telling me about his Heat. And I was like, bro, don't make excuses for your Knicks teams. And for you Knicks fans out there, don't make any excuses. Let's live in reality. Your Knicks are not special. Okay? Your Knicks are, for any Knicks fan out there, there was nothing special about your Knicks. Never was. It's a little novelty of a team that made the playoffs. Just like the Heat in a way. It's just kind of turned out a little different because the Heat has a foundation that the Knicks have never had. And that's the problem. See, the last time the Knicks had a foundation, they had Pat Riley. You ever notice that? You ever notice the foundation that Pat Riley established? And then Van Gundy kept it going for a few more years. And then after that, when it dried out, it was never established again. You ever notice that? Anybody? Bueller? Anybody? I bet nobody's noticed. I bet nobody even in New York has ever noticed that Riley established a culture there for a short time, a toughness, and then Van Gundy kept it going for a little bit more, and then it ran out of gas, and then they never recaptured it again. And that's what's going on. You might say the Knicks have the 3 most talented players on the court. The Heat has the best player on the court in Jimmy Butler. That's not even up for a discussion or any argument. But you can argue that the Knicks have the 3 most talented players on the court, right? Right? You could argue all of that. But the difference is the Miami Heat have the organization that the Knicks never have. The Miami Heat has the front office that the Knicks have never had. The Miami Heat has the head coach that the Knicks have never had. And so that's really the ingredient that's missing. You don't have that culture. You don't have that leadership in place. You had it, by the way, and you refused to hand over the power to it. And that's what Mickey Arison was willing to do. Yes, Pat, I'll bring you over, and yes, I will hand the keys to the kingdom over to you. Ernie Grunfeld wanted power, and Pat Riley wanted all of the power. And so the Knicks made the wrong decision like they normally do. But it's just apologies to that Steven. I guess that's not the Steven. Steven, I already picked up on it. Relax already, bro. Relax. What are you, so personal, bro? Oh, you're killing me. Oh, are you dying, Steven Gonzalez? Oh, my God, you're hurting. Relax, bro. Take it easy. So the bottom line is, for any of you Knicks fans out there, and directed also at the other Steven that was out there, not this Steven that's all emotional, but oh my God, thank God it's not you, Steven. Boy. Anyway, this is like, I'm taking it easy on this one here, by the way. But anyway, just for all you Knicks fans out there, and for you New Yorkers out there, you're not that smart. That's why you think Jeremy Lin is the second coming. You know what I'm saying? New Yorkers, you're really not that smart as you think you are. You're just as silly as every other fan base. You're just as blind as every other fan base. You're just as smart as every other fan base. Just because sports have been a little longer there in your town doesn't make it that you have more smart fans in your town, because you constantly do stupid things like every other fan base does. A couple years ago, there's a Yankee trying to go grab a pop fly right there, row 1. And guess what happened? A Yankee fan in a Yankee jersey, well, he has other plans. And he bumps the Yankee player to try to get the foul ball. Not thinking like, I'm a Yankee fan. This is a Yankee player coming to get the out. Let me not interfere because it's my team. That's my player. I'm there. No, but I want the ball. New York fans are as stupid as any other fan base that exists out there. And just like all those Knicks fans out there that actually thought you had something special because you beat the Cavs, you're just as stupid as every other fan base out there. You're not smarter than every other fan base out there. You're not smarter than any South Florida fan base out there. You can make it all you want to make it. You can complain and bitch. You can point fingers. You can act like snobs and all that bullshit. But you're not smart. And being a Knicks fan kind of proves it all the time. You know what I mean? Just kind of proves it all the time. Okay. So go print out your little shirts for beating the Cavs, or go shoot your little balloons and and crap when you win a first round series or something. Or tell me that Jeremy Lin is the second coming. Like I said, New Yorkers are not smarter sports fans in any way, shape, or form. They're just as smart and just as stupid as every fan base that is out there. They're not special. So go sell that bullshit to somebody else. Frankie Fresco, for the love on the super chat. Bad Bunny put on a show at Backlash, Big O. I have no idea what Backlash is. So I have no idea what Bad Bunny did. But I guess that's like some kind of side wrestling thing. Is that what that is, Sean Stanley? The Sean Allen?
No, it was the big pay-per-view for WWE in Puerto Rico this weekend.
Ah.
And Bad Bunny was in a street fight with Damian Priest and held his own and won. 25 minutes he went.
Okay.
And they had a big they brought back Carlitos, some Puerto Rican legends from IWA on the island and everything else. It should have ended the show, but no way, we got to put Cody and Brock on last because we can't send the fans home happy. But that's WWE. That's another story for another day.
And Cody won.
Cody did win.
Did I pick Cody?
Maybe. I can't remember what the match was. I think they asked you about Rhea Ripley and Zelina Vega.
Isn't Cody's last name Rhodes?
Yeah, yeah. You picked Cody at one point, but I think that was the other one, not this one. I think this match.
Not this one? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I believe we asked you about Rhea Ripley and Zelina Vega for this pay-per-view was the match that he asked about.
Which was it? What was it again?
I believe it was Rhea Ripley, Zelina Vega, the women's title match.
I don't remember that.
No? Maybe I'm wrong.
No.
I thought he asked that one on Friday. Maybe he did ask Rhodes and Lesnar. Maybe that was.
I thought he asked Rhodes and Lesnar, and I went with.
You got it right then. So.
Okay.
Let's go back to the
all right. Well, Frankie will clean it up. He'll tell us what he asked.
And Bad Bunny actually did they let him come out with one of his songs, so the whole crowd was singing them to the ring, basically. Like.
Well, this is the second time you guys tell me that Bad Bunny did a good job. So apparently he's pretty good at this wrestling stuff.
Well, he takes it. He understands it. He respects the business. He spends time in it. Doing it. He doesn't just show up and like, okay, I'm gonna let my athletic ability and my celebrity. He actually gets in the ring and works. So they've been lucky with the celebrities they've had. Logan Paul the same way. Pat McAfee when he did it was the same way. So they're getting lucky with the celebrities because they do respect the business. So they're giving it their time.
All right. Cool stuff. There you go for you wrestling fans. Ohio John says, just a reminder for the Daryl Gardner story. Oh, yes. All right. So Ohio John was, I forgot what you brought up about Daryl Gardner or something, but you asked me if you could tell me a Daryl Gardner story. And you know what I should do? Let me see something here. Just 1 second, okay? Okay. Okay. I just want to I want to see if I can pull something off short notice here. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. All depends. Okay. we're set to have Alan Poupart on at 11 o'clock here. Okay. So I wanted to, because you asked me about this Daryl Gardner story, right? And I got a good, juicy Daryl Gardner story, and it includes somebody else. So I wanted to reach out to that somebody else to see if I could kind of have like bring total context into the story and have some fun. And personally, give me a little closure on a little fact I've always wanted to know about this story, because I lived it. I watched it personally happen right in front of me, like I've never seen before, and all those kind of things. And because John was asking me, now I remember, John. Okay. I remember what you were asking me. You were asking me something about, that Daryl Gardner's talent was sick, but that he could turn it on and off at times, and that if it bothered his teammates at times when they knew that it wasn't all out. Am I correct, John? Something I'm paraphrasing, but I'm kind of filling it all in. I think that you wanted to ask me something like that. And then I told you I have a juicy story that goes with the question that you're asking about Daryl Gardner, right? And so this is why I am seeing if I can reach out to somebody to see if they actually have some time. So here we go while I wait for his answer. So I'm at practice, and it's a different type of practice in those days, because we're literally on the field, right there on the sidelines, watching these guys practice up close. Jimmy Johnson gave us access that we never really had, since. And Dave did too. And then Dave was the one, because he was more paranoid. He would limit more and more every year to what we have now. So, it's kind of the way it's gone. But the way Jimmy did it was freaking awesome, dude. It was just so great to be able to cover football that way, where I could stand literally feet away from one-on-ones and inside drills, and just I could hear the coaches talking to the players and giving them, the coaching, or ripping them or complimenting them. I could hear players talking shit to each other and going after each other, and all that, the kind of stuff you can't hear nowadays because you're so far away from it. You know what I'm saying? Now, you couldn't talk specifically about those kind of things. That was kind of the give and take out of that. You could, in training camp, you could talk about, who's excelling and who's not, and those kind of things, but you didn't talk about the personal stuff, overall. But every once in a while, something would happen, right? Whether it's John Bach and Jason Taylor fighting against each other in the middle of practice, and Jason Taylor swinging a helmet at John Bach, and, different things that would happen in training camp that would get things really heated. You know what I'm saying? John Bach calling Jason Taylor a pussy. That's kind of those are two guys that got really heated, right? So you asked me about Daryl Gardner, Ohio John. So Daryl Gardner was one of those guys that, for you young Dolphin fans, you've seen Raekwon Davis a couple of times blow shit up, right? Okay, Raekwon Davis is a minor leaguer next to Daryl Gardner, okay? Daryl Gardner had, God, dare I say it? All right, bro. You know that guy that plays for the Rams? Yeah. Yeah, that guy. He had moments like that. I'm not kidding. I'm not lying at all. There are moments where I don't even want to say the guy's name for the Rams, because he's so freaking amazing and good and phenomenal and all that. But I shit you not, Now, Daryl Gardner is bigger than this guy. Like, Daryl Gardner, like, seriously, like, when he felt like blowing it up and you weren't going to do anything, you weren't going to do anything. It was over. Same as that guy, except that guy does it all the time, right? That, like, Daryl just didn't have it in him to do it all the time. He just didn't have that heart. You know what I'm saying? So practice was like that too. And if I remember correctly, on this day, he was not practicing on a consistent basis. And so there was a gentleman on the sidelines that wasn't very happy with Daryl Gardner's performance or lack thereof or effort. And he let him have it. Now, see, this gentleman is one of the most intense players that you'll ever watch on the football field, one of the toughest players you will ever see on a football field. In fact, Dan Marino called him the toughest player he ever played with. His name is O.J. McDuffie. And if you know O.J., and if you watched O.J., for you youngins out there, we're talking about a pro's pro. I don't need to tell older fans out there who O.J. McDuffie is. They watched the ultimate professional play the game. Unfortunately, doctors ruined his career with a terrible surgery, and he was never the same player again. And so it is what it is, and all that stuff. And that the rest is history on that end. But OJ is a guy that you have the most respect for because he played the game the right way. He represented the game the right way. He represented your team the right way. He represented your community the right way. He's just a outstanding human being at every level. You know, he's just one of those guys. You know, he's one of those guys that you can't beat. Okay, that's the way I look at OJ. Right? He's like too good. I can never be him athletically, emotionally, a leader, a human being. I mean, the guy is just an impeccable human being. You know, it's kind of like Nat Moore. Same thing, right? Impeccable. They're the Lord makes some of these people. They're not me, of course, because I've got all kinds of faults. I'm completely screwed up. But they make people like OJ. They make people like Nat Moore. You know, they're just like, they piss the rest of us off because it's like, yo, dude, how come you handle everything perfectly? How can you do that, Tony Gwynn? You know, that kind of stuff. So he goes out there and in fact, the dude that's up next might have been there with me because he's been there longer than I have. So OJ lets Daryl Gardner have it. Okay. And then Daryl starts chiming back at him. And so all of a sudden, the two are getting closer. And something's going to happen. See, I don't know if you guys know this about O.J. McDuffie. O.J. McDuffie is as fearless as they get. He's so fearless that once at Penn State, he took on David Griggs, who's probably, 50% bigger than he is, right? And I believe he broke his jaw. David broke OJ's jaw, okay? Because OJ's the kind of guy that he's going to take somebody on that could be 3 times taller than him. But OJ's the guy that you're going to have to kill in order to stop him because he's not going to stop coming after you. He's that kind of dude. So he's going after Daryl for lack of effort out on the practice field. And I shit you not, it took 3 Miami Dolphins to hold down OJ, lift him up, and carry him off the field and into the building. Okay? And we were all like, oh, shit, because it was only players practicing and media. Nobody else, okay? And I was literally standing on the sidelines right off the far end zone. I remember this like it was yesterday. I'm standing off the far end zone, and they opened the 2 gates behind that far end zone, right? That those gates were open, and that's where they carried OJ out and hit him into the back. and then obviously had to calm him down or whatever it is because, OJ's like, a tough character. He's, wired like, shit has to be done right. That's who he is. You know what I'm saying? So Daryl was a guy that, the effort wasn't always there. And you knew the talent was incredibly special. Okay. I bet you when we bring on Poop, and if you ask him, has he ever seen 5 more talented human beings on a football field on the defensive side of the ball? I bet you he'll tell you no. Maybe not even 3. Not better players. No, I'm just saying gifts. The Lord's gifts. That's all. That's how freakish Daryl Gardner was. Daryl could have done whatever the hell he wanted to in this game if he really, really deep down inside wanted to play like a maniac on every down. He would have been a Hall of Famer. But he would frustrate you with his inconsistent effort. Hour number 2 and the great Alan Poupart is next.
There's no need to drive around South Florida wasting valuable time looking for a new or certified pre-owned Acura. Go to the #1 volume sales dealership in the Southeast United States. Craig Zins Acura of Pembroke Pines. Purchase with pace and space in a dealership tailored to your needs. From home buying to providing that personal touch. Contact the 2020 Satisfaction Award winner Craig Zins Acura of Pembroke Pines. 888-776-5123. That's 888-776-5123. Or visit them at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines.
Welton Rayom has more than 62 years of litigation experience handling insurance disputes. They're committed to resolving even the toughest insurance claims quickly. Call them for a free consultation. 954-966-4646. At Welton Rayom, they don't get paid unless you win. Property damage claims to your home, business, or condo as a result of a hurricane. Welton Rayom can help. Water, mold, fire, smoke damage, Welton Rayom can help. Call 954-966-4646. When you move, you need a reliable company led by passionate folks, eager to assist its customers during a transitional process that needs to be smooth. Call Essential Moving Experts at 844-368-5750 for all your local and long-distance moving needs. You can rely on Essential Moving Experts. Mention the Big O Show and get $150 off. Family owned and operated, they offer free 30-day storage, full-service moving, fully licensed, bonded, and insured. Moving was never so easy. EssentialMovingExperts.com.
For over 16 years, EJDConstruction.com has provided South Florida residents quality craftsmanship, accurate project management, and exceptional service. That's why EJDConstruction.com is an A-rated member of Angie's List and the Better Business Bureau. When you're looking for the right custom home builder for additions or home remodeling, please call my friend Eric at 305-433-4843. That's 305-433-4843 for EJDConstruction.com.
The viewpoint, statements, or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of FantasyXS.com, Media Group Inc. ownership, management, sponsors, or website. Dolphins fans, time to get insight on your favorite team with your favorite reporter with an Expos hat. Sports Illustrated's Alan Poupart in our EJDConstruction.com Miami Dolphins report, exclusively on the Big O Radio Show.
All right. Good morning, sir. How are you doing?
All right. Yourself?
Excellent. Come on, bro. Panthers and Heat. You can't even write this shit. None of us expected.
Winning going on.
Yeah. Before that, do you remember that day? Were you there that day?
I was not. I was curious as to how Daryl Gardner came up as a topic, but I don't know if I call him one of the 5 best athletes I've ever seen on defense. Certainly
talents, just talents.
Well, physically imposing, he was right up there. I mean, the guy, his muscles had muscles. And usually when you deal with offensive or defensive linemen, they're, there's some looseness there. There's not necessarily all completely cut. This guy was absolutely cut at 6'6", 315, whatever he was. I mean, he was cut from head to toe. But like you said, you'd see flashes every once in a while where, man, this guy just toying with offensive linemen, but never really on a consistent basis. But to answer your question, no, I do not. Was not there for that incident.
Okay, because I know you've been on the beat even longer than I have. So I know that but it was just, wow, that day was like, and I've always wanted to ask OJ. I just sent him a text to see if I could get him on, because I've never followed up to ask him what the F happened when they took you inside that building, because it took 3 guys to corral him, to stop him from kicking and wanting to get after Daryl Gardner. And you've been around OJ. Like, he's that guy that, bro, once he's wired, he's done. You're not going to stop him. You know what I mean? He's like a Mexican boxer. You're going to have to hit him with the 2x4 in order to stop him. You know what I'm saying? That's how Mexican boxers are. If you're getting in a ring with a Mexican boxer, brother, you better be ready to go to the death or you're going to get killed. That's OJ, you know what I mean? And so 3 guys, bro, it took them to restrain him. They lifted him up off the ground and carried him out. And he was kicking and screaming. And he wanted to go after Daryl Gardner. And, man, God. Wow.
No, OJ was a tough mofo as a player, but I'm not sure that's a fight he would want there, because Gardner was a large individual.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter to OJ.
I agree.
You know what I mean? He's one of those dudes that he doesn't care. Even if he knows he's going to lose, you're still going to have to beat him. That's the way he sees it. You know what I'm saying? He's just a fearless dude, bro. And yeah, by the way, those were the days when you could actually really cover practice. God, I really enjoyed covering practice with Jimmy, because you were literally on the field, right next to anything and everything that was going on. You could walk and access the entire fields. That was the best, dude. That was the best. That was
Those
fun.
were the days.
Yeah.
That
made
really
it
different.
fun. Yeah. That made it like I enjoyed every moment. I didn't care at times, even when it was raining. I would have my umbrella and just walk out there and stand there, even in the rain, watching them practice or whatever, because you just had the great access to that whole thing. Plus, there's nothing like starting practice with an inside drill. It's just holy
Get the boys going right away.
Right away. First thing in the morning, you stretch, and inside drill was the first thing that they did, brother. They got that shit going right away, man. Holy moly. Anyway, Panthers, that had to have been like the one that sucked the life out of them yesterday, right? To get that win in overtime and everything, 3-0. Come on.
It sucked whatever life they had left, but this is a bad matchup, and I made the point to a couple of people.
Bad matchup for them or for the Panthers?
Toronto is the Panthers from last season. Very, very, very highly skilled. They finally broke through in the first round after so many years of not breaking through. Right. In 6 games, just like the Panthers last year. And then they get to the second one against a team that's just gritty, and their style, the Maple Leaf style. Also, they have too many finesse players. Mitchell Marner, who's a fabulous player, one of the top 3 passers in the league, but another one of the top 3 passers in the league is Jonathan Huberdeau. And both of those guys are similar. Their game is not necessarily built for the playoffs. So this is why I keep watching the Leafs, and I see the Panthers from last year.
Okay, so yeah, that's why Tavares, Matthews, Nylander, and Marner combined for 146 goals and 205 assists. All 4 of them have no goals, and they have combined for 7 assists. I mean, they have shut down 4 dudes that produced 146 goals, bro.
In fairness,
wow,
those guys had some chances last night, maybe in game 2. Bob's played fabulously, and then the Panthers are totally different than they were last year. It's completely different style. They're playing a playoff type of style, which they did during the regular season, which combined with all the injuries they had, all the personnel issues they had, made it like a really close call just to make the playoffs. But once they were in the playoffs, they were a lot better suited to be competitive than they were last year, even though they didn't have nearly as much talent.
What do you think of the interesting dynamic, by the way, that Barkov does a lot of the gritty stuff, fighting, getting everything out of the corners and winning the face-offs and setting guys up and those kind of things. And then Bam kind of, gets the block shots, the assists, setting the picks, those kind of things. And then you've got your, Verhaeghes, your Bennett's, your Montours, your Duclairs, your one more Reinhardt. You have the guys that are like really complimenting you and scoring the goals next to your stud Tkachuk, obviously. Same thing as the Heat. Butler carries you, and then here's Strus and Vincent and Caleb Martin. The three scorers kind of doing what you would think Barkov or Bam would do, that you're used to your superstars being the scorers, yet they're kind of more the super complimentary guys. And then these other guys, Verhaeghe again yesterday. It's just amazing, dude, how these guys have done a really good job of kind of complementing each other the way they've separated the responsibilities in a way, the way it's broken down, in other words.
Yeah, and here's the thing. It's two completely different sports, but the principle remains the same, that you need your best players to be your best players, and that's certainly applying with Jimmy Butler and with Matthew Tkachuk, and you need contributions from everybody else, regardless of what those might be. And the Heat are getting that, and the Panthers are getting that, and that's why both of them are knocking at the door of their conference final.
Yeah. Who's the guy that you, out of that supportive group, who's the guy for you that's kind of the top guy out of that? What is it, Verhaeghe? Out of that group that Bennett too, you could probably
Bennett, because he's a tone setter. That's the thing. And Reinhardt's been really, really, really good. And that third line, which was a non-factor early in the playoffs, has really become really, really effective with Luostarinen and Lundell. And those two young guys, looked like they were overmatched early in that Boston series. And at some point it clicked. They put Reinhardt with those two, and that line's been really effective. Now the Panthers have three really, really solid forward lines to go at teams with.
Yeah. It's been really, really impressive. Now, let me ask you something. On the Dolphins side, what's going to happen here? Are we not going to see anything until June, until the cut? Is that what's going on right now? Because it's kind of stagnant right now, and you would think I was expecting an offensive lineman to be signed already now after the draft, but that hasn't happened. So why is it that nothing's happened right now?
That's a good question. Well, number one, they don't have a lot of cap space. That's one issue. Number two, you are at a point in the offseason program where, there's installing going on, but if guys get signed before the start of training camp, there's no issue in terms of picking up the offense, especially if you're dealing with a veteran. So I don't know that there's a time crunch with it. That could be it. I'm sure there's negotiations going on. There's some talk. Players want to sign for as much as they can. Dolphins want to get them for as little as they can. So there's some back and forth. And then deadline spur actions? Some of those guys who are still out there on the market don't want to be without a team necessarily after training camp starts. So maybe you see some action going on, whether it be June 1st, whether it be July 1st. It's not unheard of for some of those guys to sign at that time of the year.
Do you get a lot of Chris Grier hate?
No, not really. No, actually, I don't. Generally speaking, there's a pocket of it. I'm not going to lie to you, but it's not overwhelming. And I think there's enough optimism with this team heading into 2023 that I think that's been put to the side. Once the season starts, if there's a loss or whatever, then you hear the bitching start with some of the complaints. But I wouldn't say it's there, but I wouldn't say it's prevalent.
So is this the best QB they've had since Marino?
Why don't we see how? Well, based on what he did last year and the fact that Pennington, who had the great 2008 year, also was very fragile. Yes, Tua is the best quarterback they've had since
But
it's a low bar. It's a very
yeah,
it's a very low bar.
Yeah, and the dynamic can't be compared either. The numbers and everything else. I think he's a better QB than Pennington.
We're asked to do different things. It's apples and oranges. But considering the fact that Tua is much younger than Chad Pennington was when he had that great year in 2008, But again, there's still questions that need to be answered.
Okay, but it is the best QB since Marino. Is this your best?
Yeah.
Is this your best head coach / offensive mind since Shula?
Best head coach, not
/
sure.
Offensive mind.
Well, offensive mind, yeah, but again, not necessarily a very high bar. I mean, but yes, sure.
Okay. Is this the best all-around team in the last 28 years?
Well, that would be 1995, if my math is correct. That's Shula. Okay. Top to bottom, probably.
Is this the best front office in the last 35 years, including the end of Shula's run, since the cap was kind of new to him and he made a lot of mistakes with the cap at the end?
Not ready to say that. No, I think that's
35 years, not 40.
No, I understand that, and I understand that, and I'm not. I don't think it to make it that kind of statement. I will say this: there were teams in the early 2000s that were really, really, really good, just did not have a good enough quarterback. But top to bottom, including the quarterback, because Tua obviously is much better than Jay Fiedler was in those early 2000s. Top to bottom.
Although I think this secondary is better right now only because of the safety. Because, we can almost make a wash on the corners, maybe a slight edge if you want to give Sam and Pat a slight edge. But on the safety side, oh my God, Holland is
Brock Marion
way better than Brock Marion.
You had Brock Marion and Brian Walker for 1 year. That was a great safety tandem. And I would say that secondary, until we see otherwise, was just as good. And if not, I'd probably put it slightly higher. Slightly above,
or until Jimmy made Brian Walker play with a partially torn ACL, but that's a whole other story.
That is a whole other story. We're comparing rosters right now, so that's my answer there.
I'm just having fun because I felt so bad for Brian Walker, like Jimmy made his ass go out there and play with a partially torn ACL, and then
I didn't recall that.
It was no longer partially torn after that. It was completely torn after that, and he was done for the year instead of maybe holding him out for a couple weeks, trying to maybe see if it heals up a little bit more, and maybe you have him for the back end. And no, I remember that. You don't remember him forcing JJ Johnson playing with like a quarter size hole in his hamstring? No.
No, can't say I remember.
All the stories.
Yep.
All the stories, the stuff you can tell, the stuff you lived and experienced. Oh God. All right. So, are we expecting anything here, bro? It's kind of quiet here. And
the schedule. We're expecting the schedule.
What are you looking forward to here in this mini camp? Do we get to see anything? Because I don't even know if I should go. Do we get, or is this one of those where we just watch them stretch and then they kick us out?
You asked me that last week, and I said, based on recent history, that's what you get. That's what we're going to get: stretching and individual drills.
So we don't get to see shit, dude. That sucks.
And yet, invariably, there will be some fans who will ask who's looking good and who's not. And the only thing you can tell, basically, from these, even if we were to watch the entire practice, the only thing you could tell is what's the guy look like physically, the way the guy moves. Certain guys you can tell by the way they move. That's got athlete written all over them. Certain guys, they move kind of a little bit more, I don't say awkwardly, because you don't get to the NFL if you move awkwardly, but not as fluidly. But that's all you can gauge in the offseason. And in this particular case, if we're reduced to stretching and position drills. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or I will say this, sometimes you can tell if running backs, for example, like I could tell very quickly, Jared Dokes, remember the 7th round pick from
Cincinnati.
every pass that he caught, he was fighting the ball. It was like so obvious from the start. And then we get into games and he drops a couple, and even he makes a catch, it's never clean, it's never smooth. So that you can get from this particular kind of.
I'm brain farting now. Is there anybody, at least from an injury standpoint, that we would like to see back on the field that was injured last year? Is there anybody?
Not for the rookie minicamp, there won't be, because they came back from.
Oh yeah, because it's rookies. That's right. It's not. There's
Well,
no
OTAs start in a few weeks, and at that point,
Yeah,
I don't think you're going to see. I don't think you're going to see Brandon Jones. I don't think you're going to see Nick Needham. Guessing Agba probably should be out there.
And X should be out there. I would imagine, right? Because he said he's pretty healthy now, right?
Yep.
Oh, and by the way, one thing we haven't really talked about that I think it's like a really good sign that we really haven't mentioned. We all know X was effed up last year. As you could tell, that wasn't him. But whatever growing injuries he had, one or both, dude, he didn't need surgery. We didn't hear about a sports hernia surgery. We didn't hear about a groin surgery. To me, that's actually really good, because then you're not spending your offseason rehabbing to get to football. You're now just getting to play football. You know what I mean? And get in shape and all that kind of stuff. So I think that that's a huge thing that we don't talk about, that X didn't need surgery, when we all know that whatever it was, that dude was not himself.
No, he was not himself. He was not a Pro Bowl player, even though he made the Pro Bowl, because he got there by name only. He'll be the first to tell you that. And I fully suspect that he'll bounce back when we talk about the rosters and all that. I think X, of the four stud cornerbacks, if we were comparing to like the early 2000s, with X, Jalen Ramsey, Sam Madison, and Patrick Surtain, I'm not so sure that when each of them is at their peak, that X is not the best of the four. Because when X is on, man, he is so good. And this is not three chumps we're talking about, because Surtain, Madison, and Jalen Ramsey are all outrageous. But I think sometimes we forget just how good X is when he's right physically. And I would suspect that would be hopefully the case. And if that is the case, I expect a big year from him.
He does have sick athletic ability when he gets to display it. He does have some sick athletic ability. All right. Follow him on Twitter at Poupart NFL. Remember, the one thing that makes you a real Dolphins fan, it's not buying season tickets or a jersey or a hat. No. You have to bookmark alldolphins.com. That's where you'll get all your information, and you'll get Poop and Omar also going at it in their podcast too at the same time. So you get a little bit of that. What do you got going on so folks can check you out?
Well, we're gonna look investigating this really interesting situation with the running back. Yeah, I have this habit of doing this. Sorry, the running back situation where are the Dolphins done exploring? Will they possibly look at Dalvin Cook?
The Cook thing again. Okay.
It may be tiring, but it's
Have they released him yet? I'm just waiting.
No.
They're not trading for him.
They're not trading for him. I can't imagine. I have a hard time believing that the Vikings would just dump him, but stranger things have happened. And I have something going on that I will publish today about.
Did they draft a running back finally?
I do. Good question. I didn't follow on
because
that.
if they didn't draft one, then they would need someone to back up Madison if they're just going to cut him out. So if they're not going to cut him out, then they'll probably use him for one more year. And then,
the issue with them isn't that. The issue with them is they don't want to pay him his big salary, and if they decide that they can't live with the idea of paying him his salary, they'll go with a cheaper alternative and live with the consequences. Anyway, we have that going on, and I got a look at Vic Fangio and his history against Aaron Rodgers and Josh Allen.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. Follow him on Twitter at Poupart NFL. We'll catch up later on in the week, my friend. Appreciate you as always.
Sounds good. Go Panthers.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go Panthers. EJD Construction. Call my guy Eric, man. I'm telling you, you need some construction, Dade or Broward County, not Palm Beach and not Monroe County, just Dade or Broward County. 305-433-4843. Whatever it is you need, you call EJD Construction full construction, man. I'm talking about custom home construction, major home remodeling, fully insured, 2 million liability, 1 million workers comp. So you never have to worry. Anyone that steps on your property and gets injured while they're working, you will not get sued. And by the way, folks, if you don't hire EJD Construction and you happen to hire somebody else, please make sure they're insured. All right. This is just a friend to another friend out there. Okay. And by the way, this goes for anybody in anywhere, in any market, any town. If you're going to ask somebody to come work at your home, please make sure they're insured. Okay. Because then they can sue you if those people get injured, and all those workers, they know the laws better than you do. Okay. So do not allow anybody to come on your property and work if they are not fully insured. You allow them to go work on your property, you are done. And if they're not insured, somebody gets injured, you're going to be part of a lawsuit, and you don't need that. All right. So call EJD Construction 305-433-4843.
You've been listening to the EJDconstruction.com Miami Dolphins Report with Sports Illustrated's Alan Poupart. For additions, home remodeling, and custom work, call Eric at 305-433-4843. EJDconstruction.com is your custom home builder and general contractor you can trust. 305-433-4843.
All right. Let me see what we got. All right, let's see what we got. All right, what else do we have going on here? Bitcoin's at 28. All right. All right, tonight, 7:30 at the Kaseya Center. What is it? Kaseya Center. Knicks and Heat. Heat are favored by 4.5 right now over the Knicks. I guess Vegas is kind of caught up now. Heat are minus 180 on the money line. The Knicks are plus 155. Miami leads 2-1. They can take a absolutely demoralizing 3-1 lead, kind of like what the Panthers have right now in Toronto. But this one's 3-0. There's no way that the Maple Leafs can think they can win this series already. They've got to think that they're done. There's no way they're beating the Panthers 4 straight. I mean, anything is possible in sports. You know what I'm saying? And Toronto's a hell of a team, but they haven't been in this kind of position to think that they can do this. You know what I'm saying? That's the other thing about the Knicks. You know, tonight, this is not a tested team. They have no history. That's what I was trying to tell the Knicks fans the other day on Twitter. It's like, you guys are hyping a team up that's never done anything. They have no track record of success. None of these guys are guys that have had success deep into the playoffs. Nothing like what Jimmy has accomplished. Hell, they don't even, those guys haven't even accomplished what Bam has accomplished in the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? And that's the problem with this matchup, where you have way too much New York hype. As I was saying before, New York people get caught up in the hype like anyone else. They don't stay sensible. That's why after Miami beat Milwaukee, I was like, wow, they got a shot now at advancing, because the Knicks are not a team you fear. There's nothing about the Knicks that you fear. You don't fear Brunson and Randall. You respect Brunson, but you don't really fear Randall or RJ Barrett or any of those guys. You don't fear those kind of guys. Brunson, I have a healthy amount of respect for that kid. He's a tough son of a bitch. You know what I was thinking about? You know what's funny? What's freaking hilarious? Okay? No one will ever argue to you that Kyrie Irving is super talented. No one will argue with you that he's more talented than Jalen Brunson. But if you're the Dallas Mavericks, you're now realizing who was the better basketball player, the better leader, the man, not the little boy, but the man that you can count on night in and night out to be a true professional, to give you one hell of an effort every single night, to care about everything that's going on the court. Jalen Brunson over Kyrie Irving every day of the week and twice on Sundays. No matter what handles Kyrie has and no matter what ability and all that bullshit, you know, the one thing you've noticed is that he's not the answer to anything. And the only reason he won in Cleveland was because of LeBron, not because of anybody else. Because he had this major superstar next to him that really carried the team and kind of took all the pressure off him. So all he had to do is hit that one big shot. But hitting that one big shot does not make him the great franchise player that you want. And it's funny that Brunson is not as talented as him, but really for your basketball team, who are you going to take? You're probably going to take Jalen Brunson because he's the true pro. So I give him credit. I know he's hobbled in this one now, and not feeling bad for him because I'm not rooting for New York in any way, shape, or form. But I will say, I was thinking about that. I wonder how Mavericks fans are feeling about this now. And they have to regret that they gave away Jalen Brunson to sign this bum. It's got to be just absolutely crazy for them. Anyway. By the way, Jasmine looking strong, dude. Strong. What else do we have going on in the world of sports? Oh, by the way, remember you can make a donation through Cash App or Venmo at Cash Big O Show. That is Cash Big O Show at Cash App or Venmo. And Mr. Trujillo, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you. Eric Trujillo made a Bitcoin donation on Cash App or Venmo. He did it through Cash App. You can send Bitcoin through Cash App or Venmo at Cash Big O Show. That's Cash Big O Show. And you know I love my Bitcoin donations. So, Eric, thank you very much. And there's a little dip right now in Bitcoin. So it's a nice time to make a little Bitcoin donation during a dip. Thank you very much, man. Very nice of you. Let's see. What else do we have? John Wayne's 45 says, big old question for Poupart. Oh, I'm sorry. Can you explain Bam? All Bam needs to do is be involved, constantly attack the rim. If he's not confident to shoot, at least get a 5-foot shot going. Well, that's not Poupart's basketball is not his thing, so it doesn't really matter. It's up to Bam's not wired that way. He's just not wired to be aggressive on a consistent basis. You know, he is wired to be a super role player, is what he's wired to be. That's basically what he has shown us. Is that pinging noise indicating that an angel earned its wings, or is Poupart's Hot Pockets done in the microwave? I'm going to go with the latter. Sounds like a Hot Pockets thing. Yeah. He never turns off that bell on his computer, by the way. Miami saving $16 million next year when they cut Agba. Greer and his team are geniuses. With the cap, money will never be an issue with this team. He kind of tries to keep some flow going with it in and out. Yeah. There's no doubt about that. Polly says, I'm so glad Spo isn't like every other coach. He doesn't care how much you make. If you're better off the bench, you're coming off the bench. Yeah, exactly. Only guy with some experience on the Knicks is Jalen Brunson, who made it to the Western Conference Finals last year. But other than that, they don't have players with deep playoff experience. That's what I'm saying. You know? Mark Cuban would have thrown 9 Brinks trucks at Jalen Brunson. He wanted to go to New York because his dad is an assistant there, so I don't think the Mavs stood a chance to retain him. Is that the case? I almost get the feeling that they could have signed Brunson, but they didn't really commit to him the way they should have. And they liked him, but I don't think they appreciated him until now. You know? I think it's like that. I think it's like that great woman that you let go and you think you can do better and whatever. You don't think she's that good. And then when she's gone, you're like, what a dick I am. You know, what a first-class loser. I pushed this woman out of my life, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me, right? I think, sadly, a couple of you that might have happened to you, and that's a regret you live with for the rest of your life, you know? So very few women are probably regretting doing that because, you know, most of us aren't worth a damn. But there's some guys out there that probably live with that regret. And I got that's the impression I got with Dallas. But you could be right, Lenny. You could be right that it might be all about New York and his dad and all that stuff. Hunter says, "Oh, don't flame me for suggesting it. I know a lot of work, but you get a lot more views if you live stream during games. People like hearing your take on the plays." Yeah, maybe you might be right. I don't know. So then I don't do the live show. Then I just do live games. I don't know, man. So that's a tough one. Stephen A. crying in his sleep with nightmares of Jimmy. I just that halftime show, it's just whining about the Knicks. You got Greeny, you got Stephen A., you got Hugh B. on the call with his New York bias that you can feel in the broadcast. It's just a joke, dude. The other day on Saturday, it's like, why aren't you guys talking more about the Heat? And I got to hear Greeny and Stephen A. whine about your little Knicks. Bro, your Knicks are nothing. They get hyped because of the New York bullshit. Because we got a couple of idiots in the damn studio that like the Knicks. So they've got to force it down our throats and talk about the stupid Knicks when the Knicks don't deserve to be talked about for 20 years. How about the Knicks actually earning respect? Earning something. Treat them like what they are. They're a novelty that made the playoffs. They're a nothing franchise. Overhyped New York bullshit. Same crap as always. It's like I didn't even watch any of. I stopped watching halftime shows. I'll watch the TNT ones. If you give me, Barkley and Shaq and all, I mean, they'll say some stupid stuff every once in a while, but at least they'll go after each other. They'll go after players. They'll talk about stuff. That ESPN crew, oh my God, that is dog shit. Wow, that is dog shit. Ohio John, who had the tougher practices, Shula or Jimmy? Shula or Jimmy? Oh, Johnson, you mean? I caught the back end of Shula, 92 to 95. I'm going to say they were both about the same. I'm going to give a slight edge to Jimmy. only because that dude was brutal on even on two-a-days he would hit at times early on, and then obviously the CBA took over and the players started to phase that kind of stuff out. But the fact that he would start with an inside drill was just brutal in the morning. I've never seen anybody do that. So I'll go with a slight edge to the last 3 years that I saw Shula to what I saw with Jimmy for, 5 years, 4 years that Jimmy was here? Yeah. Slight edge to Jimmy, not by much, but both practices were brutal. Definitely. Now, I'm sure if you talk to, the older players and like Bo Camper, and they'll tell you about 3-a-days, I didn't cover those. So, I would imagine Shula in the end wins, Riley, by the way, had some brutal practices. Okay, they may not be with pads, but shit, I remember one day that I was I remember one day that I was with all the media members, and we were outside LaSalle for 6 hours. And I think he had like a 3-hour film session, a 3-hour practice. Brutal. We had to go get pizza from Cazola's and everything to kind of put us off. I remember that. Oh, man. So, yeah. Thank you, Ohio John, again for the love on the super chat. Stephen Harris says, I bet Stephen A. is at Carmelo's front door asking him to come back to the Knicks. Rob Budd says, same goes for Leafs fans. Leafs media and hockey, it's so blind, I can't even cheer for them. GP Trap says, yes, Big O did it twice. I got lucky, though. Got a good woman now. There you go. So wow, twice. Okay. Just from all the stories about Don Shula, I'm going to say Shula had the nightmare practices. Probably in the end, when you throw in 3-a-days and all that, that must have been, but again, it was a different world, salt pills and all that shit. Yeah. Question to everybody. What's more exciting, NBA or NHL playoffs? I'm going to go NHL playoffs, dude. Oh, what is more frequent? Kyrie's conspiracy theories or Tiger with a scorned woman troubles? No, we're going to go with Tiger because he consistently has scorned women all the time. So, yeah. Tiger's just not lucky at love, bro. It's not his thing. If I'm Tiger, I'm just single and ready to mingle, bro. That's it. Sometimes you just got to face it. You suck. My dad, rest in peace. I lost him, 30 years ago. But my dad got married 3 times. And I remember I used to tell him when he got married the 3rd time, I said, dude, if this one fails, you got to stop getting married, bro. You suck at this. I literally would tell him. And he was like, come on, man, why you got to be so brutal, And this is like in Spanish. I go, well, because it's 3 times already. You're not very good at this, dude. It's not like your thing. So you got to stop, man. It's kind of expensive. I've only been married once, and, it's just... nobody wants... Well, most of us don't want to be alone. I get it. You don't want to grow old and alone. So and I see some guys that, to me, some of them, you can tell they're kind of getting married so they can be with somebody because they don't want to grow old and alone. And, old and alone is intimidating, right? Because who's going to take care of you? Who's going to help you in certain situations, And so I get that. But, man, when you're bad at it, it's just going to bring you heartache. You know what I'm saying? So, although I do give the person credit that does it 3 or 4 or 5 times. Either they're afraid to be alone or they really want to find somebody. It's just they really struggle with it. I don't know what it is, but yeah, it's kind of odd. Holt says alone is better than with the wrong woman. They can ruin. Yeah, no, wrong woman or man. Yeah, no, definitely. I don't think any woman or any man should be with somebody that. Yeah. That's worse. You're right about that. Oh, what's worse, a broken heart or a lonely heart? Lonely. Broken could be a good thing because you can recover from a broken heart. Lonely is a void that cannot be filled. You know, that's pretty bad. That sounds like, you can't fill that void. Whereas a broken heart, well, she could have cheated, he could have cheated. He or she can recover from that, can move on. You know what I mean? You have a chance to kind of find another chapter and find, some peace in that sense. A lonely heart, man, that sounds helpless. You know what I'm saying? A broken heart, there's still some hope. That's the way I'm going to look at it. Better to have loved and lost than to have never loved at all. Exactly. Yep. So, True Extreme says, it's got to be a lonely heart. I mean, there's a classic song called Owner of a Lonely Heart. Yes. 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 Owner of a lonely heart. Much better than a owner of a broken heart. Yes. I'm a broken-hearted Dolphins fan. Well, that your heart will be repaired this year. So anyway, what are you going to do? You know what I'm saying? What are you going to do? All right, let's see. What else do we have? Buck Cherry at the Culture Room. Yes, I saw that. Big O, I know we're far away from football season, but are you planning on getting... Yes, I am planning on getting a live spot for Sundays. We are working on it. In fact, we met with somebody on Friday on that. We've had several meetings last week. So, yes, we met with somebody. We're meeting with a couple of people now for the Dolphins broadcast. So, yes, we are working on that feverishly because I want to get a home for the Dolphins broadcast this season. I promise you we will have a home for the Dolphins broadcast. Okay? So, yes. And by the way, if your business, you got a restaurant or bar that wants to join our platform and you want to promote your business and pick up some new clients and great marketing, great branding, 786-754-4664. That's our business number. Maybe you want to be a host of our Dolphins pre- and post-game show, our Canes pre- and post-game show, 786-754-4664. We can do the, 4-hour broadcast at your place. So reach out to our business number. That is not for talking or anything like that stuff or, requests or anything like that. That is strictly for business. That's strictly for sales. If you want to be a sponsor on our platform, you want to sponsor Heat updates or Dolphin updates or anything like that, 786-754-4664. Okay. So that is our business number. So make sure you reach out to us. Frankie says, I know I found the right woman if she got me a Barkov jersey, my favorite player, O's favorite player too. And he's laughing. I would rather what? The boring Prince Charles coronation than watching a Stephen A. Smith Greenberg halftime. Yeah. Yeah. By the way, damn. Holy crap, the news was full of the whole coronation. And I know it's important for our English friends, but Jesus, I really had no interest in that whatsoever. I don't care. And it was all over, man. It would not stop. Anyway, do want to remind you about Welton Rayom, the law offices. Those of you that have been dealing with the storms from the last couple of weeks, and maybe you're dealing still with the insurance companies that are dragging their feet and they're not doing their job. Well, why don't you have a couple lawyers that kick ass and been doing it for well over 20 years? 954-966-4646. Welt and Rayom, folks. Condo damage, criminal defense, homeowner property damage, business owner claims, commercial litigation, personal injury. 954-966-4646. Several of our listeners have reached out to Welt and Rayom. They've got cases going on right now. We told you that when we had those idiot kids go through the wall of our house and Progressive Insurance was being a bunch of jerks about it all, Welt and Rayom crushed their asses, brought them to their knees, and got exactly what we needed in order to fix all the damage we had in our home. They can do the same thing for your home, your condo, your business. Call Welt and Rayom right now. And God forbid you're dealing with bankruptcy issues, or maybe you're dealing with business owner claims or personal injury. You can also call Welt and Rayom, 954-966-4646. Hey, the consultation's completely free. Call from anywhere. You don't even have to visit the offices. Maybe just to pick up your check. 954-966-4646. All right. So we've got Butler dealing with the ankle and Caleb Martin, by the way, back contusion. Both are listed as questionable. I would expect both to play. Butler had 28 points the other night on Saturday in their 105-86 win. Boy, they controlled that game from beginning to end. And if they want to demoralize these guys today, do the same thing. And that'll put a pretty much, a fork in them and they're done. You go up 3-1 in this series. There's no way the Knicks are going to think that they can win 3 in a row against the Heat. The Marlins, by the way, lost 2 of 3 to the Cubs. Yesterday, Sandy didn't win, but at least he didn't lose. And they did end up winning 5-4 in extra innings. They're 17-18. They're a game under 500 at 9:40 tonight on Chase Field. Marlins taking on the D-backs to start a new series. We got to give some love to Inter Miami as they won over the weekend, making it 2 in a row for Inter Miami. Nice job. I like that. F1, did you catch any of the F1 there, Sean? No? Nothing? How about all you out there? Did you catch any F1? Got a ton of people watching right now on the show. Give me a yay or a nay if you watched the F1 race. I'd love to get a feel because I'm interested to see an event that's in South Florida. And I know a lot of you aren't in South Florida, so it doesn't really matter. So I'm watching. How many of you actually even paid attention to the F1 race? And I know they put it in a prism, like, they bring out all the, local celebrities and all that. This is a sport that is carried by a rich international fan base. Let's be honest now, okay? Those are the people that carry it. And I enjoy auto racing. I enjoy NASCAR more than anything else. Indy's all right. F1's all right. But let me ask you something when it comes to, F1. I just like to know, where's the competition? You know, that's what I'd like to know. Where's the competition to all of this? It's kind of odd. Have you seen the race results? So they opened up the season in Bahrain. And Max Verstappen, Red Bull team, he wins. Following week in Saudi Arabia, his teammate Sergio Perez from Red Bull wins. They move on to Australia. Max Verstappen from Red Bull, he's back to winning. Then in Azerbaijan, Sergio Perez comes back to win from the Red Bull. And in Miami yesterday, Saturday. No, it was Sunday, right? It was Sunday. Whatever. Max Verstappen wins. You know, this is a really competitive race. You know, it's pretty amazing. Why are we even having a race in F1? Why don't we just have Verstappen Perez, the Verstappen Perez tour? And it's just two guys that can race each other. And, you know, why are we wasting our money having, 20 other cars in the race? Why are they putting billions of dollars into 20 other cars into the race when only two guys win anyway? I mean, what's this? Is this the German Bundesliga or something? Where only one team wins the damn league every year? I don't know if you've noticed that. I don't know if you even give a shit about F1. And I get it. It's a fun event. You go out there, listen, man. I used to go out to the Grand Prix in downtown Miami and all that and all the fanfare and the stars and Miami Vice stars and music stars, and Gloria was there and Willie Chirino and, whatever. And I remember all the sports athletes also would come down, whatever teams we had in town in those days. Obviously, it was a different world, but you had stars and all that stuff, and it was paraded around downtown Miami. But I just find it kind of funny that it's a sport dominated by one team and two guys, and they alternate each week on who's going to win. That's all. I just find that humorous as hell.
Yes. The way I view F1 is kind of like a sports league with no salary cap. Because you can put as much money. It's not like even NASCAR. NASCAR, at least you have specifications to where it's almost like the more money you have, the better you're going to race. I mean, there's some teams that have, money behind them as well, but maybe not as much money as, Red Bull Racing. Yeah. So it's a big money sport, like you said. I mean, there was somebody, I don't know if you saw the tweets. Did you see the price for like merchandise?
I know. Yeah.
I was like, man, I mean, like, I get it. It's a rich man's league and everything. You can just tell.
It's a rich international fan base that carries that sport.
Yeah.
It's not the part that's funny is that they lie to us and they use this local prism, and they bring out Tyreek and they bring out a couple local stars and all that. Mm-hmm. But really, the people that are attending, brother, it's really it's a whole different. It's an international fan base that either lives here locally or travels from abroad to come to the race, because that's how it is in Bahrain or wherever else. That's kind of the way it's carried. But I just find it funny that it's kind of lame that there is no competition in that sport. You know what I mean? That it's one group winning it with their two guys, alternating week in, week out.
Yeah, and the
So,
funny thing, I think the Dolphins, I don't know if it was Garfinkel or whoever did it right because they made sure the Miami Open was front and center. They had the Venus Williams and Serena Williams with Roger Federer there. You had the Dolphins there. They made it, about everything that goes on at that stadium
smart.
and put it front and center. Very smart by them.
Yeah, Garfinkel's a monster, dude. Guy's a stud. Absolute stud. But, F1 is kind of a joke. Okay? It's fun. It's great for the hoi polloi and the high class, and it's a killer event to go to and all that. Great marketing, but really, it's not really a competitive sport at all. It's just a wow sport to go out there and see that, and that's it. Ragin says, Big O, I'm a lifelong racing fan. F1 has never been about competition. Whoever spends the most money wins. It's always been that way. Yeah. Which makes it lame as hell, bro. Doesn't really make it impressive. No, NASCAR is not just more competitive. NASCAR is just the best. It brings everything. It's not just competitive. It's got rivalry. It's got color to it. It's got character. It's got a rich-ass history. NASCAR is the one that does it right. Okay? All the other ones, they can try, but they're never going to be NASCAR. They're just never going to be NASCAR. That's it. You can do whatever you want, but you're not going to get the characters. You're not going to find hell, they're even on social media. They're the ones that in the pandemic, they're the ones that were doing that what's that called? The whatever racing, the what's that shit called? On video, what's that called? Crap. What's that?
The iRacing?
Yeah, whatever. Was that what that's it? iRacing? Is that what it was called?
They have the iRacing leagues now where some of the NASCAR guys are involved and they'll do guest appearances and race in the iRacing.
And I guess that spun off of the pandemic, right?
Yeah, from the COVID, because during COVID, remember at the beginning, what they ended up doing was do the races they did the iRace because nobody could go and be, so every Sunday they would be whatever track they were supposed to be at, they did on the iRacing league on their little
you agree, right? NASCAR is the only one that has all the elements that like regular sports have. Right?
Yeah, because I think also, like you said, the grassroots, it started with just regular, guys that just took their cars to the beach to run. And they knew they weren't going to win, but you're going to show up, and it's the grassroots that kind of.
And they have their fan bases. They have their fan bases, and they're passionate.
They do a great job marketing as well now.
Yeah, dude. It's not even close. The rivalries, it's personal. The storylines with it, it's just the characters. Just NASCAR has it all, dude. NASCAR has everything that you get in football and in baseball and in basketball and hockey. It's the same elements. No other race league has been able to capture that at all. Kart Indy, before they went Kart IRL, before that, okay, this is a while back now. If you remember, they were approaching that. They had some characters. They had some flash. They had a little something going on, and then they divided. And I think, to me, it kind of, I don't know if you agree with me because you're old enough to remember that, Sean. But
I mean, that and in the Vegas incident.
I think Open Wheel suffered after it got split instead of it growing. That's just me.
Yeah, I think that, and then also the incident that happened in Vegas with the driver death.
Yeah.
That kind of really, because again, there was a lot of complaints going into that race that speeds were getting out of control, and then that happened. And I think again, And that was something funny that came out of the F1 was they're not trying to come in. They just want to beat Indy. F1's looking to in the U.S. I'm not saying internationally, F1's probably bigger than anything else. But
of course,
when you're in the U.S., they're trying to get that number two. And I know some people are saying NASCAR's dead in the thing. There's certain tracks that are not doing as well, but I mean, for the most part, you got 37, 40 cars that are sponsored with over $10 million a race. So I mean, it's about as healthy as it's been. So
no, I get it. I get it. I get it.
I get it's not your cup of tea, but it's still there.
It's still to me, it's the more entertaining one. It's the one that I care about the most. It's
more competitive. It keeps you like yesterday. Denny Hamlin had the bump for the win.
Right.
It's not you're not just watching guys. The next gen cars helped kind of bring everything together because the smaller teams now, with the way it was going, the bigger JGRs, your Hendricks, they had the money from the manufacturer, so those were the guys winning. When they went to the next gen car, it kind of evened the field out. So now you have Trackhouse Racing. You brought in Pit Bull. You brought in Emmett Smith. You brought in Michael Jordan. I mean, you're bringing in names that are bringing, that I wouldn't say pop feel, but you're getting a different kind of culture into NASCAR now as well.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Just I just kind of laugh with the the whole F1 thing, how it's just not competitive at all, and it's just it's all flash. That's the funny part of it. Anyway, watching any car race is about as exciting as watching paint dry. Yeah, a lot of people hate it. By the way, I'm not the biggest fan of it on television. But live, I can be there all day. I really enjoy it live. If I can be at a NASCAR race live and have access to, the pits and all that kind of stuff, I think it's really, really cool. Live, it's a lot of fun. I enjoy myself live. On TV, I could get a little bored. That I will admit. I will admit that. Tonight, Warriors and Lakers, by the way, not just the Heat, at 7:30 at the, Kaseya Center. And then at 10 o'clock tonight, Lakers are leading 2-1. Lakers are favored by 3 against the Warriors. Over and unders 227.5. Warriors are plus 130 on the money line. Lakers are minus 150 on the money line. The Marlins, 9:40 today at Chase Field. Braxton Garrett for the Marlins, 1-1 and a 5.81 ERA. And then Zach Gallen for the D-backs. He's 4-1 and a 4.53 ERA. Panthers are off tonight. Game 4 will be on Wednesday, so they've got a couple of nights off in between so they can stay fresh. I like that, man. I don't. If you're the Maple Leafs, the Panthers have got a stranglehold on you 3-0. Plus, now you're going to get a couple of days off, and they get to get a little fresher on that. To me, that's a positive for the Panthers because the Panthers are the ones that are sitting there 3-0. Confidence is brewing, and you're the Maple Leafs. You're down 3-0, and you get an extra day to think about the hole that you are in. Wow. That just plays with you and F's with you on a consistent basis. So to me, that's actually a really good thing for the Panthers. It bodes well for them, does not bode well for Toronto. I mean, this is a Panther team that was down 3-1 to the Bruins in the series. They were down a goal with a minute left in their entire season, and they could have gone home. Yesterday, they went down 1-0, and right away, I tweeted out to folks, hey, it's about how you finish, so don't freak out. And sure enough, it came back. This team is the character, the resiliency they have. It is absolutely impressive. And like I told you, when we started the show earlier on, there's confidence, man. Confidence is everything in sports. in life and everything. And to me, that's what's, sky high. Trainer Gustavo Delgado, jockey Javier Castellano, and owner Ramiro Restrepo and a cane win the Kentucky Derby with Mage at 15-1. I am amazed every year at how they can fill up that entire broadcast for hours. They sprinkle in the other races, but man, they put in a lot of info, impressive stuff. Remember, Vinny Viola's horse, Fort, was scratched before the race, so he didn't get to race there. But Maj did end up winning, so it's kind of interesting that a horse also with South Florida ties ends up getting the victory. On the music side, by the way, on the music side, I saw a tweet from somebody that pointed this out, and I was kind of laughing because, it all depends. But here you go. This guy, Daily Mail UK, puts out Lionel Richie fans disappointed by All Night Singer's awful performance at King Charles coronation concert. And I went to a Lionel Richie concert about, I want to say it was about 2 years ago at the Hard Rock Live. Anybody was there? Anybody that's on this chat board? And by the way, don't forget to smash the hell out of the like button. Was anybody there? After the third song, I walked out of that concert. He couldn't sing. He wanted people to sing, the song with him and all that. And let me give you, as a person that's gone to a lot of concerts, like a lot, like well over 1,000, and I shit you not. When a singer is encouraging fans to sing their songs, it's because that singer no longer can sing, usually. And he was talking the songs. David Lee Roth's been doing that now for 15 years. Vince Neil does that now for Motley Crue. When they can't sing, they try to have the sound of their voice and then sing it, not sing it, but talk it, and try to replace that for singing, And I looked at my wife and I said, this is terrible. And I walked out and I left. A lot of people, most people stayed, but then again, a lot of the public gets fooled with a lot of shit, or they have very low standards or whatever it is. But I was disgusted. I was like, why are you touring? David Coverdale hasn't been able to sing for Whitesnake for years now. He's had two backup singers. And the last time I went to a Whitesnake concert was like 6-7 years ago. And it was the last Whitesnake concert. He came back a couple more times, and I think he just canceled his last farewell tour. He couldn't screech anymore. He couldn't hold any of the high notes. None of that stuff anymore. He just didn't have the power in his voice anymore. And it happens to all of us. We all get old and we all can't do the things we used to do. I don't care what it is. I don't care if you're a grass cutter. I don't care if you can polish shoes. I don't care if you can sing. I don't care if you can sell cars. I don't care. Whatever it is you do, at one point you're going to get too old and you're not going to be as sharp. You're not going to be able to do things the way you used to. Happens to all of us, man. We don't know when. Some of us can do it longer than others, but there's going to be a cutoff. And like, why are you still touring, David Coverdale? Why are you still touring, Lionel Richie? Why are you still lying to people, Vince Neil? Why are you trying to rip them off when you can't do what you're promising people that you can? And this is why by the way, you have to be very careful, because you have bands out there that are they're playing, tracks underneath, and you're not really hearing them. You're hearing a track. Motley Crue does it. Kiss does it. You know, you got to be careful. Some of these bands, they're not even performing anymore when you go live. And you're paying all that money and you're not really even getting the real band. They're out there like lip syncing. It's terrible, dude. Be very careful with that. And Lionel Richie, he can't sing anymore. I know because I witnessed it a couple years ago and I had to walk right out. You know, I looked at my wife. I go, you hear this? Like, what the hell, dude? This is insulting. I'm not staying here for this shit. Big O money grab. Yes, sir, King Short. That's exactly what it is. Let's see. Phi Mum 37 says, I heard a long-term bong usage is bad for the vocal cords if you don't change the water. Unrelated, of course. Isai says, Big O, what's your thoughts on Jokic incident with the Suns owner and how good was that flop by the Suns owner? Yeah. But the Suns owner is not a guy that is very likable. Drop a like for Big O, yo. That's right, baby. Hit that like button. For Sean, for myself, for everybody out there, for the platform, period. Big O, are there any older singers who sound close to similar to their prime? Rob Halford still sounds pretty damn good. Even when he does Victim of Changes, he can hold it. Up until he died, the last time I saw, you can't see him anymore, but Charlie Daniels, even at 81, was still sounding great. Still sounded like himself. His voice was powerful. Freaking impressive, dude. Bruce Springsteen still sounds great. Older singers that still sound really good. Ann Wilson still sounds pretty good. She's losing a little bit of the higher notes and the power. She can still hold it pretty good, but she's losing a little bit right now, but that you can expect that. Pat Benatar still sounds phenomenal for her age. Robert Plant's lost a little bit of the fastball. That's why he kind of stays. That's why I believe he talks down the Led Zeppelin stuff, because he really can't hold those notes anymore. That's why he does more of the stuff with Alison Krauss and, the bullshit stuff with the shapeshifters. He can't even do Burning Down One Side and some of the stuff that he did even on his solo stuff, I think, at this point. So still sounds good, but doesn't have the same power anymore. Paul Rogers still sounds good, Jeff Fernandez. You are correct. You're correct. Peter Gabriel, I have not seen live, so I can't tell you, but I think on YouTube I have heard it. Stevie still sounds really, really good, by the way. That's definitely one where she still sounds pretty good. Yes, John Anderson still sounds like himself. Question, Big O, who's the better matchup for the Heat, the Celtics or the Sixers? Oh, Sixers for sure. For sure. Yeah. Frankie says, were you the only that walked out? Were there a lot of, I don't know, Frankie. I don't remember, people in droves walking out with me. I remember me and my wife walking out by ourselves. I'm not sure how many people walked out or stayed or, tolerated it or whatever, but I know I wasn't going to tolerate it. I don't stay for bad movies, and I don't stay for bad concerts. If they can't sing, I'm getting them out, man. Even with Van Halen, the last couple times I went to see Van Halen, I went knowing that David Lee Roth couldn't sing. I went just so I can go see Eddie Jam. I knew that David sounded like shit. I didn't care that he sounded like shit because I didn't go to hear him. I'd already seen Van Halen a crap ton of times in their heyday in the 80s with David Lee Roth. Okay. And then I saw the Van Hager one after, whatever. But I saw a ton of David Lee Roth in his prime. So I didn't care. So the final go rounds, I didn't really do it for the band itself. I really did it for Eddie. I didn't care. I would travel. I'd do whatever. But I wanted to see Eddie because Eddie is just, can't enjoy Hendrix, then give me Eddie. That kind of stuff. That's what I can tell you. All right, let's go. He is ready to go. Let's step into the courtroom with Welt and Rheaume and Marcel Louis Jacques.
All rise, football fans, as the Welt and Rheaume Miami Dolphins report with Marcel Louis Jacques is in session.
Welt and Rheaume has more than 62 years of litigation experience handling insurance disputes. They are committed to resolving even the toughest insurance claims quickly. Call them for a free consultation. 954-966-4646. Here's Miami Dolphins insider Marcel Louis Jacques.
All right. There he is. How you feeling, my man? You feeling good?
I'm good, man. I just I feel like I did the full Miami tour today. Had an interview with a subject, not like a job interview, an interview for work, up in Coconut Creek, not Coconut Grove, as I initially thought. Coconut Creek. That was a
fighter? Was it a fighter?
It was a fighter, yeah.
Okay. You were at American whatever fighting.
Yeah, would you say that's the only possible reason I should be going up to Coconut Creek?
Well, you tell me you were an athlete in Coconut Creek, and that's the only thing I can think of that is in Coconut Creek, which is the MMA fighters. What is it? American Top Team, I want to say?
American Top Team, yeah. ATT. Yeah, that was coming from
I be no dummy. I look like a dummy, but I'm really not a dummy.
Coming from Edgewater, that was a drive, man, but it was worth it. Great interview, good insight. So, that's all. The pieces are coming together. The ultimate story will be out in like August, but this is, one at a time here, one at a time.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Looking forward to it. Did you do anything else over the weekend? Did you attend any other South Florida events?
I went to the practice round on Friday. Got, Hard Rock.
Fun?
Yeah, got the beach club tickets. It was cool being in there. Stupid money around that thing, man. Stupid money around F1. That's different. I remember last year being in the Paddock Club and seeing the Dolphins, see Raekwon, Christian, Jalen, Javon, Mike walking down the club. Not a turned head, not a phone up. Not a request for an autograph. They did not care because that is different level of money, and they're mostly European. They could not care. It was unbelievable, man. Like the star power in that Paddock Club. It would have been cool to go again. I did not mind staying on my part of town for most of it. It's a hassle to get in and out of that, man. I think on Friday we left at a bad time. We left at like 3:00 p.m. here. 2 accidents on 95 plus the F1 track. It took an hour and change to get there on Friday afternoon. I was like, all right, the hassle is a little much, man. Like, I think I would go one day a year for, the rest of the time it's there. And, get the idea, get a reminder of how fast these cars are, check out the campus. And then I'm going to stay my ass away because it's just, I might even Airbnb my place next year and get out of town. Because, it's cool, but as somebody who doesn't really know much about F1, it's not like a must stop. It's not all 3 days are not a must attend for me personally, but it is cool to have it there.
Yeah, but you realize how uncompetitive that sport is, right?
Yes. Yeah, Max started in 9th and had the Red Bull car is so much damn faster than any other team. I think I heard it's like it's somewhere between 4 and 8 miles per hour faster than any other car. like in the
Well,
field.
like all these guys have told us, the more there's no cap, so they spend more than everybody else. But look at the results. Verstappen won Miami, then his partner wins the one before, then he wins the next one, his partner wins the next one, then he wins. So Red Bull and the same two guys win every single race on that tour.
Yeah, like where's the parity in it? That doesn't seem. That's worse than like Alabama's run. That's worse than Georgia's run. That's worse than the Warriors, run. Like that's I don't know. It is what it is. Because I know like Lewis had a time. Lewis had his time. Mercedes had a time. But again, Red Bull puts the money in. I heard like their like aerodynamic engineer. Most of them are paid like $1 million a year. Red Bulls gets like $10 million a year. So they put the work in. Well, they put the money in, and then they put the work in because the money is there. Yeah, like it's cool though. It's cool. It was a hell of a, he's a hell of a driver. I still gotta give it to him. He's a hell of a. It's not like anybody. It's not like I could hop in the Red Bull car and win a race. So like he's a hell of a driver. Best driver in the best vehicle equals the results that we continue to see.
Yep, I'm with you there. All right, Dolphins. I asked Poop this. I'll ask you now. What the hell is going on, bro? Things are kind of quiet. I figured there would be an offensive lineman signed here since they didn't really go early in the draft to get one. And so are we waiting for the Byron Jones release next month? Is that where we're waiting for? We're waiting for money to make moves? Why so quiet?
I think the money is tied up until Byron's gone, yes. But I was just talking to Mina about this the other day. And Chris told us this on day one of the draft or day two of the draft. Everybody else sees offensive line as a bigger issue than they do in the building. I think when they got here after Flores was fired, they saw talent on the O-line. They said, okay, we need some additions to it. But overall, this position group has not been coached up well. So we're going to coach them up well. Like we heard Mike say, Frank Smith spent a little too much time with the offensive line last year. That's why they hired the new O-line coach this year, so that Frank Smith can be more of an offensive coordinator and they can get a specialized coach in there. But they saw uncultivated talent in the room. And then last year they couldn't get an accurate read because Liam Eichenberg missed like 10 games. Austin Jackson missed 15 games. Teron Armstead was in and out of that lineup. The only constants were Connor Williams and Rob Hunt. So I think they see if this unit is healthy, it's better than the numbers that we gave it credit for. We don't have an accurate look at what they look like at full strength. We got a half of play with all five of their top five guys on the field at the same time. So I think, I would predict one guy probably loses his spot this year. I don't think Austin Jackson is as bad as his reputation is. I think he has gotten better over the past couple of years. He had a good summer. He's been asked to move around a lot. That's not as easy as it is on Madden. I think we keep an eye on him this offseason, this summer to see, is he healthy? Did those steps from last season transfer over to this season? I think Liam Eichenberg likely loses his spot to the name is I can't remember the guy's name. Just signed him over from the Jets, the interior lineman. I think he probably loses his spot at some point. I don't think he has been, I think he's been a disappointment. And I try not to come down on guys very hard because, I got to see them every day. I got to see them in the locker room. And I don't want to be the guy who has to tuck his tail when he walks in the locker room. But I think Liam Eichenberg's been a disappointment since he was taken, a year ago or 2 years ago. He was seen as one of the better offensive lineman prospects in that class. He has statistically been their worst offensive lineman over the past 2 years in terms of pass block win rate. Like he is, and run block win rate. He is statistically the worst lineman they have. They believe in him. They said he was playing his best football when he got hurt last year. I think it was a low bar to clear. So I wouldn't be surprised if the top five in week one is different. If everybody's healthy, I wouldn't be surprised if top five in week one is different than top five in week 18. But again, like I've been saying this for 2 years now, or a year now. The big splashy moves. You got Armstead. You made a little bit of a more splash with Connor Williams, but beyond that, they're not in the market to make major moves like that. You know, they kicked the tires on Taylor Lewan, but we've established Chris Greer will do his homework. He's going to reach out to any player that might be available. Any player. I wouldn't be surprised if they kicked the tires on Lamar Jackson earlier this year. I'm not saying that they did, but I wouldn't be surprised just because that's his MO. Like, there's no limit to, you know, who he's going to reach out on and who he's not. He's probably not going to do 90% of these deals, but he'll probably reach out just to get an idea. Like, okay, what's the market? What are you interested in? What do you want to do? But what big names are even available at this point?
No, well, I'm
like,
expecting. I'm expecting them to sign Cameron Fleming. That's what I'm expecting, because Taylor Lewan only plays left tackle, doesn't play right tackle. I don't think he even has interest in playing right tackle. Brandon Shell plays right tackle, cannot excel at left tackle. Cameron Fleming plays both left and right, can swing. So either he can beat out Austin Jackson or he can fill in for Teron Armstead if there's an injury. Whereas Taylor Lewan can only fill in for Teron Armstead, and Brandon Shell can either only start or fill in for Austin Jackson at right tackle. He can't play left tackle. So I think they're going to sign a flex guy, and I think Cameron is that guy. That's my logic behind it. I don't know what
you need the swing. You need that swing tackle. Although it wouldn't be the worst idea in the world to have a high-end left tackle to back up Teron Armstead, because history has kind of shown us over the past several years, he's probably not going to give you 17 games. When the games that he's in, he's going to be the best lineman on the field. There's no question about that.
Yeah, but Taylor Lewan has not proven that he'll be available either for you. That's the problem. Just like Eric Fisher last year, you brought him on, and he's been a sack of injuries in the back end of his career. And guess what happened? He got injured without even playing.
I think Taylor Lewan, obviously it depends on the price point. If he wants to get paid like a starter, obviously that's not going to happen here because he's not going to be a starter. I think that his issues, his poor play, has correlated directly with his health and his injury history. I think if he's relied on to be a high-level backup, that I think he'd probably be able to do that. But he's a bigger name than I think talent at this point. I just don't know if that's where he sees it or that's how his camp sees it. I think he's not so far removed from high caliber play that he won't get a deal somewhere. Somebody is going to offer him a job as a starter somewhere in the league. I am sure of it. So it's not going to be in Miami unless he wants to play right tackle. And even then, are we so sure that Taylor Lewan can play right tackle? No, I think Fleming would be a good option. Again, you need that swing tackle. I thought Brandon Shell was an excellent option at right tackle. Kendall Lamb held his own there at the end of the season. They still have Keon Smith. They have some options there, but I think they believe in their top five if that top five can remain healthy. They just, again, didn't get an accurate enough read of these guys last season.
There used to be a cassette commercial from Memorex, and the guy used to be sitting on the couch, and he'd crank up the music, right? And then you'd have to figure out, was it real or is it Memorex, right? Is it really a orchestra playing, or is he listening to a cassette deck? And Memorex, right? I don't know. Are you aware of that commercial at all, real or Memorex?
Nah. No, I'm not.
Okay. So one day, if you ever get the chance we would get tagged, wouldn't we, Sean, if we ran that commercial right now on YouTube for sure? Okay, just go on YouTube when you get a chance after this segment. It'll take you 30 seconds because it's a 30-second commercial. Just go real or Memorex commercial, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So when it comes to Dalvin Cook, what is real? And what is Memorex? What is bullshit? Because I think most of this is all bullshit. I don't think the Dolphins are interested unless it's really low hanging fruit. Like, oh, you got cut? Great. We'll give you $3.5 million. You can play here if you want. Oh, you want 10, 7? Nah, we're not interested. Have a great life, Dalvin. But I don't believe they were ever trading for him before the draft, during the draft, after the draft. I don't believe they would give up anything of value for him. Could they give up a 7th rounder and tell him to renegotiate down to $3.5 million? Yeah, I could see something like that. That's what I think is real. The rest of it, I think, is freaking Memorex. So, what is real? What is Memorex? Or is this a bunch of media members just looking to get freaking clicks?
I think that Cook's camp has been pushing him to Miami pretty hard. I think they've pretty clearly been pushing him very hard. I'm not going to say that a trade was never, ever going to happen, because Miami kicked tires on DeAndre Swift when Detroit made him available.
Right, but for
cheaper
nothing.
Price point. Cheaper price point.
Right, a 7th rounder. Here you go to get him off your.
But right. Yeah, they're not trading for Dalvin Cook. It's not happening. They just spent a 4th round pick on a running back here. That's not, or a 3rd round pick. Excuse me. It's not insignificant capital for Chris Greer. It's not insignificant. I think the money they gave Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson is not so much that they wouldn't add another back before drafting Devin Achane. Now I really don't see it. He could get a training camp invite, but I don't think he's getting a guaranteed role. I think if he's cut, he's kind of wants somewhere with a guaranteed role. He's still productive back, but I don't think that it's going to happen in Miami. It would be kind of a surprise. You can have too many cooks in the kitchen. I think there's such thing, no pun intended, but there's such thing as too many running backs, man. Like, you already are only getting the ball X amount of times. You're gonna tell me you have 5 guys in that room or 4 guys in that room? Dare I
say one thing that nobody really even thinks of? It's a possibility. Probably won't happen, but it's a possibility, and it'll ruin everything. After all these people that have talked about Dalvin, what happens if it's another Chase Edmonds situation? Chase is a good player, but just somehow or another could not find his groove in this offense. What happens if Dalvin comes here and somehow or another doesn't find the same groove in this offense, because it's a different offense and it requires you to make the cuts at a different point or time? I know Dalvin is supremely talented, but I'm just saying.
I don't think it's as much of a hand in glove fit.
Right. That's just what I'm saying. But the 2 running backs you do have are hand in glove. So why am I going to and mess with 2 guys that got me 4.5 yards a carry? The coach himself admitted I didn't use him enough. And now you added a young guy that obviously your head coach is freaking in love with his ass. So why even are you going to attempt to bring in a 4th chef in the kitchen to cook, which is a great point on your part? Which now now you've got to try to make people happy now. Whereas your 1-2 punch and the rookie, you're not worried about making anybody happy right now.
If the Dolphins struggled to sell tickets, I would understand. If they were at risk of alienating the fan base, I'd understand. Fan support has arguably never been higher. At least not this turn of the century. Fan support has arguably never been higher. Optimism has arguably never been higher since Dan Marino was lining up. Like, they don't need to make moves just because it's a good PR stunt. Just because, oh man, I bring the guy back home. I don't see it happening. Like I said, it could be a training camp invite, but he's not gonna get a guaranteed deal here. He's not gonna get a guaranteed deal here. I don't see. I think the role they would use him in is similar to what they would use Jeff Wilson in, and Jeff Wilson is a hell of a lot cheaper. He's going to be just about as damn productive. Like, it's not.
He fits perfectly.
Yeah, I don't see it happen again. Before the A-Chain pick, maybe we could talk. I would personally think that. I personally think it's done. Plus, I mean, he still hasn't been cut yet. OTAs are coming up,
right?
Man. Like, he hasn't been cut yet. Like, are we positive that Minnesota wants to move on from him?
Well, no, they didn't draft the other back. that everybody talk. Oh, well, they're going to draft a back. Well, they didn't. So if you trade him, you're going to leave Madison alone? No, you're not going to do it. So it tells me you're hanging on to him for one more year. That's all.
Again, I think, it was it's a fun story. It's a fun story. On Madden, I'm sure that team is sick.
But you're learning, right? The Miami guy gets like forced down your throat an extra 1,000 times. If it's another name that has no Miami ties, it comes and goes. But brother, if it's somebody with Miami ties, Jesus Christ, half of our fan base wants to they want to acquire every single guy that has Miami ties. Every single guy, dude.
I mean, I when you look at the talent pool of Broward and Dade County guys, like that's I don't blame them. Like you can build a pretty damn good football team from Miami area players. But yeah, no, I think they're again the moves that we'll see here on out. I think maybe a little tinker here or there, maybe an injury replacement, like a veteran injury replacement here or there. It's not gonna be any big splashes. This roster is set. This roster is good. This roster is good if healthy. I went on the radio in Buffalo, I think last week, got asked the question. It was like, have the Dolphins done enough to contend with the Bills? I was like, we are approaching the point where we asked, did the Bills do enough to contend with the Dolphins? Like, I think it's a toss-up at this point. Who's going to finish number one between the Jets, Bills, and Dolphins right now? Like, I think the Bills draft over the past 4 years have been bad. Not even just not good. Like, they aren't drafting well. They made their name hitting on, scrappy free agents that ended up big. The Micah Hydes, the Jordan Poyers of the world. Like, they hit on picks in 2017 and 18. Since then, I can tell you who their best draft pick is. Ed Oliver. You know what I mean? So, like, it's not I think their window, they have Josh Allen, and that's that's a doorstop on the window. It's going to keep it open for as long as he can play. Don't get me wrong. I'm not willing to call them the best team in the AFC at all. Like, I don't even think they're top 2 in the AFC. And there's a debate that they're not the best team in the AFC East right now. Again, the Dolphins are very freaking stacked at every position except maybe linebacker and tackle. Linebacker and tackle. The Jets almost willed their way into the freaking playoffs last year with Zach Wilson. I mean, I can go out there and throw left-handed and be as efficient and effective as Zach Wilson last year. And they were a win away from making the playoffs. And then they just added Aaron Rodgers and a bunch of Packers cronies. Like, it's a good coaching staff. There's a lot of talent in the AFC East right now. I am not willing to just bow down and give it to Buffalo right now. Granted, they're the reigning champs. They're reigning champs. They're going to be until somebody beats them. Don't get me wrong. But the Jets beat them last year. The Dolphins beat them last year. They're bleeding.
Listen, I have to deal with some of these Dolphin fans that have, they have this bitterness from the last 20 years that have been really rough. And listen, I'm the first guy. I've been ripping the Dolphins for 20 years that they weren't that good. But I'm a big Greer guy. I believe that this is one of the best front offices in the NFL. I told people 3 years ago that these 3 guys will prove to be one of the best front offices. And I think as time has gone on, the team has gotten better and better, and they're there. And so I've got to deal with the bitterness, and then I've got to deal with the idiots that hang on to this 2020 draft stuff. And it's like, he still missed on Noah. And I'm like, oh, bro, he missed on Noah, but guess what? He ended up finding Kohu, and he ended up finding Needham, and even Trill was showing you something. And then he drafted X and Minka, and he drafted Holland, and he drafted Jones. You want to hang on to one bad corner pick? Great, but there were a whole bunch of other selections that were really good that kind of made up for that. You know what I mean? Oh, I get it. Austin Jackson hasn't proven. I get it. Jury's still out on the guy. He's been a disappointment. All right, fine. But you got a franchise quarterback out of it. You got Raekwon Davis. You got Brandon Jones. And you got Rob Hunt in that same draft. So you got your franchise quarterback and 3 core players. You did all right, bro. Get off of that. There's this negativity, right? And then I go to him, and I left it at this. And I asked Poupart this. I can't really ask you this because you don't have the age and the perspective on it. No offense. But I said, Isn't this the best QB since Marino? Yeah. Isn't this the best head coach and offensive mind you've had since Shula? Yeah. This is the best all-around team, Marcel, in the last 28 years, bro. Oh, we lost him now. Let's see if we get him back here.
I think we got a call.
There he is. So it's all good. And then this is the best all-around team they've had in the last 28 years, Marcel. I'm going back and looking at this. And then this is the best front office you've had in the last 35 years. Yeah, I'm including the back end of Shula's run, because the back end of Shula's run were the first few years of the salary cap. And I hate to say it, have you watched your grandfather try to work a smartphone? It doesn't work, right? Well, the old man struggled with the cap and the way things were. When Jimmy took over, Jimmy did two things. He built a hell of a defense with Sam, Pat, Zach, Jason Taylor. Okay, he built a hell of a defense. And he also cleaned up the cap mess that Shula left, because Shula left a miserable. Put it this way: at one point in one season, 2 years before Jimmy got on, he had 19 former first-round picks on the team. A lot that he drafted, but a whole bunch that he went and signed in free agency. Guys that had failed other places but brought him here and all that, and there was money all over the place. And so he created a really bad cap situation, so it was new to him. This is the best office you've had in 35 years. So this is the funny part, that if anybody complains about the Dolphins or Chris Greer and company, you don't realize how good it is right now. It's that much better than a lot of the shit that's gone on for over a quarter century around here, bro.
Hey, look, there's a reason why. Look, I've always said you don't build a team through free agency. You build a team through the draft, right? So, like, when I think on the outside, when people see the Dolphins trading for Ramsey, trading for Tyreek, signing Teron Armstead, like they make these big splashy additions, I think they're saying like, well, they're buying the team. No. They're able to do that because their foundation is strong. Tua, Waddle, Phillips, Holland, Howard,
Wilkins, Sealer.
These are homegrown guys. Hunt. These are homegrown guys that have helped the foundation of this roster stay solid, so that you can afford to splurge here and there. Like, you can afford to splurge. You could send a first rounder for Tyreek. You could sign Teron to $70 million. You could trade for Jalen Ramsey. Like, you could add these splashy additions because you've taken care of business, beforehand. So I know. Like, we've talked about the 2020 draft at all. I think 8 out of 10 GMs get fired if they miss on at least 2 of 3 first-round picks. I think, like,
oh no, if you hit on your franchise QB, you the whole draft it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You don't
without
need
Tua season,
Hunt Jackson or who's the other guy? Hunt Jackson or Raekwon. You don't need to find those. If you hit on Tua, that's really all, because nobody hits on franchise quarterbacks. Those are very few teams do that. Hell, Miami hasn't done that since Marino, bro.
No, I think Tua's 2022 season made it so if Tua if he was bad last season, bad last season,
right,
then people are going to say you missed on all 3 picks. You missed on all 3 picks. I think at this point, even going into 2022, I have said you missed on all 3 picks, and it doesn't really matter if Tua is good or not, because look at what Justin Herbert is. I think there's at least a conversation now, especially within this offense, like to the most, and I say there's at least a conversation to the most skeptical critic of that Dolphins pick, of the Tua pick, that look, especially when in this system, when he has support, Tua's as good of a passer as anybody in the league. We saw it last year. Of
course. All right, what do you got going on ESPN this week so we can check you out? I think you previewed a little bit of it. Go ahead.
Yeah, we are. We're getting ready for rookie camp. I was mistaken, I think a week or so ago. We only get like the first 20 minutes of rookie camp. We don't get to watch the whole thing. When I was in Carolina, when I was in Buffalo, we got to watch the whole thing. It's not the case. It's not the case here. Every team is different.
Yeah, I'm not going to go now. If all we're going to do is stretch, see the stretching, I'm out of there, bro. I'm not.
Yeah, I think it's whatever. It's whatever. Whatever. We get OTAs on the 23rd, and we'll get to see more of those. I think we get the full practice on, or something like that. But it won't be long before we're watching full 2-hour practices in that sun, thinking, damn, like I wish I missed when it was only a couple minutes. But so preparing for that, working on this larger story. Once we get closer to it, be able to explain a little bit more what it is. But like I said, piece by piece, we're getting to that August 12th or some shit, pub date. So excited to share that with y'all. But until then, man, we're just trudging through the offseason. We're almost at a point now where there's more time behind us than there is ahead of us. And shit, we got to hold on a second. Let me check my calendar to be sure. Yeah, man, on Thursday, we got schedule release coming out. So
yeah. Yep. Word has it.
We can really start speculating, man.
Word has it we're getting the Patriots in the first week. Is that true?
That'd be boring. It'll be the third year in a row, right?
Yeah.
At least every year since I've been here. I don't know where they started. No, 2020.
I was really hoping that your ass would be in Kansas City on a Thursday night. That's what I was hoping for. So, that's what I was hoping for. That's what they should do. Kansas City, Miami. They're going to do that.
I want to go to, this is personal preference. I want to go to Kansas City like fall. So before it's like brick cold out, but like October, November, when it's brisk enough that it's like a nice change of pace from 80 and humid, get that like 65 and breezy, 50s, 60s. But excitement wise, I guess get the Thursday night game out the way early. Although I think they can flex those now. They can flex the Thursday and the Monday night games now. At least the Thursday nights.
Yeah, the Thursday night for sure. All right, follow him on Twitter, Marcel_LJ. Marcel, as always, thank you, my friend. We will catch up later in the week.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right, Marcel Louis-Jacques, call my friends, Welt and Rayom. Do not deal with those insurance companies. Let Welt and Rayom crush them.
This has been another session of the Welton Rayom Miami Dolphins Report with Marcel Louis-Jacques. At Welton Rayom, they don't get paid unless you win. They handle complex personal injury claims caused by the fault of another in both state and federal courts. They handle auto, trucking, motorcycle, slip and fall, and bicycle accidents. Call 954-966-4646. Welton Rayom can help.
All right. By the way, today, May 8th, in music history, in 1993, on this date, Aerosmith entered the album charts at #1 with Get a Grip. The album went on to sell over 20 million copies worldwide, as well as win the band 2 Grammy Awards. In 1970, on this date, the Beatles' Let It Be album was released. It was the last record of the original studio material put out by the Fab Four, but it was actually recorded before Abbey Road. In 2001, on this date, Sum 41 released their debut album, All Killer, No Filler. And in 2012, Against Me singer Tom Gable came out as transgender and announced her gender reassignment surgery and her new name, Laura Jane Grace. That is what happened today in music history. Prince. We've got a Don Shula highway here. Well, Prince is going to get a highway in Minnesota named after him. The 7-mile section of road travel between the beloved musician's former Paisley Park headquarters just outside Minnesota, the portion of Minnesota's Highway 5, which cuts through the suburban areas of Chehassan and Eden Prairie, will be called Prince Rogers Nelson Memorial Highway after Prince's real name. Signs marking the road's name will display Prince's unique shade of purple, and according to the name's change bill leader sponsor, Republican State Senator Julia Coleman reported Prince was a true genius, a visionary artist who pushed the boundaries of his music and cultures in ways and in the work of countless musicians who came after him, and his legacy continues to inspire new generations of artists to this day. Lost a dude at 57 to a drug overdose. Freaking crazy. Stephen Harris says, Big O, have you thought about doing Dolphin pre and post game shows at Twin Peaks? That would be a pretty cool idea. Would have to get in contact with them to see if they would be interested. Oh, will we ever see Smith's reunion? Never. You'll never see it. Ever, 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 ever. They've been offered tons of money. Morrissey won't do it, bro. And Morrissey and Johnny Marr can't stand each other. So you'll never get to see them play together again. And, you know, Morrissey still plays arenas, smaller arenas. He doesn't pack big arenas, but he can pack smaller arenas. And he has developed his own catalog that is Hall of Fame worthy. So he has a luxury and he has a following that Johnny Marr doesn't have. And certainly the other two guys fell by the wayside. So for Morrissey, he doesn't really need it at all. And that's kind of in his head, in his world, it's not what you and me need. Obviously, we would all love to see Johnny Marr and Morrissey together, you know, and with the other two original members, and see an entire, 2-hour set of the Smiths. That would be phenomenal. I would give anything. I would go to multiple concerts for that. Okay, I wouldn't even go to one. I'd go to several. Okay, but for a guy like Morrissey, he just doesn't care, dude. It doesn't do anything for him, because he's had so much solo success. And I think that's the issue there. Let's see. Speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Shula should have Florida renamed after him, not a highway. Okay. The state of Shula. I'm good with that. Only in Twin Peaks servers dress as Finn's cheerleaders. They are supremely talented at Twin Peaks. That's all I can tell you. Ever seen Eric Clapton? Yes, I have. Prince is a severely underrated guitarist. Yes, he is. He's a phenomenal guitarist. You should put Prince When My Guitar Gently Weeps, or just put Prince Guitar Gently Weeps, and the Hall of Fame performance will come out with Tom Petty, with the guy from ELO, Jeff Lynne. I think Steve Winwood is in the back playing the keyboards. You got to watch that, okay? Because what Prince does with My Guitar Gently Weeps, that's just freaking awesome, dude. Freaking awesome, And you could tell those guys are just like, they're like, go ahead, Prince, do your thing. You know what I mean? And those guys, he's on stage with like just a few other freaking like all-time legends, and obviously he being an all-time legend himself, he just puts on a show with that guitar, dude. And when he throws it up in the air when he's done, and obviously, his guys catching the guitar, you don't see it, but it's just so cool. Everything about Prince is just next level. His talent, his performance, his coolness, everything is next level, with Prince. The tail he can get, because all the women Sheena Easton, Apollonia, you name it, that guy did not have what's that called? That guy had USDA choice meat all the time. Let's just put it that way. Okay. Pat in Nashville says, watch Neil Finn, Seven Worlds Collide, amazing collaboration concert, including Johnny Marr and others. All right, I'll check it out. I can't wait for next week, man, to see Crowded House. So good. So good. I actually included a little Crowded House yesterday. Probably get tagged for this, of course. I'm sure I'll get tagged for this. So we were in the backyard, hanging out in the backyard, and I was jamming a little Crowded House, a little chocolate cake. And so hanging out with the clan. Let's see if this well, okay. Trying to add this. Sure, we'll get. Remember, Sean. Okay, so you'll probably have to pull this out. Oh, here we go.
Oh, yeah. There's Ziggy. Enjoying a little artificial turf action. Chill in the shade. Thanks to this beautiful Sylvester tree. Call my friends at CuttersEdgePro.com. Get your slice of chocolate cake.
Love it. Had a good time yesterday. That's the beauty. That's the beauty of actually like redoing your backyard, and like now you want to be outside and hang out and hang out with the doggies and all that. And the weather was fantastic yesterday, man. Nyborg says, saw Jeff Lynne's ELO in 2019, was still strong then. I know, right? I saw them too. I saw the same tour. Saw them in New York. I saw him at Madison Square Garden. ELO at Madison Square Garden. That was freaking awesome, dude. That was a hell of an experience. That was fun, dude. Fun. Fun. What do you think? Do we get tagged? For sure. All right, we thank Ira Winderman. We thank Alan Poupar. We thank Marcel Louis-Jacques. We thank, of course, Sean Stanley, the man, the myth, the legend that puts it all together every single day and masters this platform. We thank all of you that tuned in. If you sent in a super chat, thank you. If remember, you can also make a donation through Cash App or Venmo at Cash Big O Show. That is Cash Big O Show, Cash App or Venmo. And, of course, remember, whenever you're listening, please smash the hell out of the like button. Very important that you smash the like button. That helps the algorithms, and it gets the show out there to more fans out there. We will see you tomorrow morning, same time, same place, same bat channel.